Welcome to the Penny Bloom Podcast. Ain't another place that has got more bombast. Romp past your mom, dad's listening to Tomcats. Talking everything that make you sad. We don't want that. We're here to make you smile. Put your mind at ease. Peace, love, and bloom, and always praise Keanu Reeves. This what we about. This some weeding now. We'll talk until we can't no more, and then we peacing out. Alright, let's go. Penny Bloom Podcast. It's the Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. It's the Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome in to another episode of the Penny Bloom Podcast. It is I, Colton Robertson, and today we finish off our top 100 favorite comic book characters. It's the top 25, baby. And of course, I am joined by Joseph George. What's up, homie?
Oh, what up, what up? Always a pleasure to be here, and I'm glad we can get the creme de la crop of these comic book characters down.
Oh, man, this is where it gets really real. We talked a lot about how we do really like the characters we've discussed up to this point in part 1 through 3, 100 through 26. And we hit the Eternals along that run, pretty early on. That's proof enough that we like a lot of these characters. All of them, I'd say there's obviously not a character in my top 100. I'm like, what? I actually don't really feel that guy. No, I fuck with all of them, but I love these characters. All the top 25. These are my favorite characters across it all, and pretty much no doubt about that.
Yeah, I've from very early on in this list. There's obviously not a person that I hate in this list. I don't think I, could really.
Oh no, you didn't just go ahead and throw out fucking Hayward or whatever.
Yeah. But man, this is where they start becoming, I guess, more impactful. You could say, like, especially when you get up to like the top 10. These are characters who have been very, very impactful on lifetime, whether that's childhood or whether that's recently and just been that great. But this is where it gets good.
Then I say, let's get into it. We're going to kick it off with our 25s. And I'm going to start it off today with Lois Lane.
Oh,
I love me some Lois Lane, especially coming off of Superman and Lois. I really, really like that show, and the most impactful shit in that show is the family stuff. It is about Clark and Lois figuring out how to manage, because they go through a lot of shit with him being Superman and stuff and having kids. Like it's a complicated array of shit. One of my favorite Lois Lane and Superman moments, period, is in that first 1978 movie where he takes her on her first flight. And he holds her hand out to the side and then holds her by a finger, and she's feeling like she's flying. She's barely getting held up. She's getting held up by just his pinky, pretty much. And all the while there's this monologue going on inside her head where she's planning what she's going to write about this interaction. And she's it's this whole thing where she feels more safe than she ever has, even though she's more vulnerable than she's ever been. And she's like, what is the extent of you? Like, can you hear what I'm thinking right now? Can you read my mind? Like, and she's just pondering who he is as a person. Like, there's something so genuinely good and comfortable about this human. And, or not human, but person. And, and like, that's what I love about Lois Lane, is the way she enhances Superman. And Superman's a really important character to me and will be much higher up on this list. But Lois Lane propels him in a way no other character does.
Definitely a realm in the comic book area that I need to dive deeper into. Out of DC, Batman has kind of been the only one that I really know well and deep dive into. I know Henry Cavill is Superman, and that's like basically it. And I feel like that's just really sad. Like you've been watching a lot of Superman recently, and I've been seeing, on Twitter and stuff, a lot of the old classics coming up and stuff like that. And it's been itching me to get into watching all these old, get everything from the very beginning. And I think I'm going to do that with Batman first, so I can get all the classics done with them. But Superman was
so
next
much
up
fun.
on my
It's
list.
so much fun to watch the old shit, because like there was a point where it was nothing but camp. I think people have this problem with MCU movies now that they take them way too seriously. Like, and it's partly on the MCU. They like to act like they are, like they should be critically acclaimed, and like there are elements of the movies that should be critically acclaimed. In some realms the visual effects, in some realms the acting, etc. Like, but beyond that, I mean, it's few and far in between that these are critically acclaimed movies, and they need to know that, and people need to know that when they're engaging with a superhero movie, and that's why these movies like Logan, like the Batman, like these hard hitting dramas with superheroes, that's why they shine. That's why they are the top tier. And but yeah, I just think people take shit way too seriously. So when we get back to like Superman 1978, which was a fantastic movie, but is incredibly campy and incredibly corny at points, like that's what I want. Like that's what I want a Superman movie to be like, and it's they knock it out of the park.
All right, yeah, that's 25. I think a character you don't have on your list, but had to make mine, and only fitting that he comes in this episode is Uatu, the Watcher. And I know it's kind of unfair, hypocritical of me to say, some characters are lower down because of, we don't have a lot of material with them and stuff like that. But what if?
There's always the exceptions. There's always the exceptions.
What if has been, I don't know. It's some of my favorite content that there is for Marvel out there, and just seeing what this character will have been. I think it's the concept of this character that really does it for me. We don't really have a whole lot of him, and we don't know really much about him at all. And he's very mysterious, but I think it's just the concept of the character and the show What If and all. I think this 25 slot is kind of just for What If, basically.
Gotcha. You're like, you know what? He defined it,
Yeah.
and going back to the What If comics back in the day, like that's, I actually did have the Watcher in part 2 towards the end.
Oh, you did? He
was at my 52. So pretty,
okay.
Kind of cool.
Mind.
The inverse of your number, 25 and 52. That's weird.
Look at that.
Shit happens.
Okay. Well, maybe I didn't hear it because I knew he was coming much later or something. Or that's why I didn't remember, and I wanted to.
You were like, I need to put this out of my mind. I can't talk about
up in 25. But I don't know. I felt like these milestone numbers, the numbers that would start the episodes, I felt like had to be kind of a special character.
A banger.
And Uatu, I don't think he could have slipped down any further. In my opinion, I don't think he's going to rise much at all. Who knows? I guess who knows what the future is for his character. But these characters that are above him are got a lot more to them, and a lot more. But I just wanted to put him here. Just
question.
That voice, man. Oh, but they couldn't have gone with a better actor.
Jeffrey Wright just nails that.
And if we're getting him in live action soon, who knows? I have no idea. I want to see anything more with What If, anything more. Just hearing that voice. That there's few narrators in the world that get me going, I guess. And him and Morgan Freeman are the two that I could hear narrate anything. I wish they could narrate my life.
Oh man.
But yeah, I felt like Uatu had to come in here at 25 for me.
Had to. Way to kick off the episode, Lois Lane and the Watcher. Perfect. But with that, on to my 24. And this is where I have my first MCU character of the top 25. This is where I've got Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier.
Ooh, okay.
I like me some Bucky, but only so much. I do love Bucky, and he probably was not top 25 before the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of how I want to frame it. Like the Falcon and the Winter Soldier is the first time I've watched him and truly gone like, yes, I like this dude. I've liked his character development and the stories he's been involved in up to this point. Obviously Captain America, the Winter Soldier is fucking fantastic. Civil War being a conflict based around him essentially is also really cool. But it's the Falcon and the Winter Soldier that makes me go, I like this dude and I want more stories with him, and I think he's a super badass. I love Sebastian Stan in the role. It's going to be hard seeing him as the Winter Soldier coming off of Pam and Tommy, where he did so fantastically as Tommy Lee. They showed his dick and stuff on that show. Like it's
the range.
Yeah, the range. He's a superhero and Tommy Lee. He recently played a serial killer in a Hulu horror movie, a slasher film.
Okay.
Sebastian Stan's been on a road. Yeah. He's been on a roll. And but yeah, Bucky Barnes, I fuck with Bucky Barnes, and obviously the scene that, makes you go, yeah, is when he doesn't break on Wakanda whenever she recites the activation code for the Winter Soldier. That shit just hits, and it's I love where him and Sam are heading. Love all that. So Bucky, I had to get him in here in the top 25.
Oh yeah, he'll be coming up for sure. And I think maybe he rose a little bit because of who he paired with. I did a lot of pairings together. And maybe when I think about it, like truly how I think of Bucky, I don't know. I think he's not too much higher up or anything, but
right.
He'll be coming up soon. I'm moving on to my 24. This is where I have the Hulk.
Nice.
And and this one is kind of a mixed bag. I think it's just kind of the iconicism of the Hulk. But if you just look at the MCU's Hulk, I don't really think he makes a lot of people's top 25.
He just deserved better.
Yeah, and I got a few green people coming up here. I don't know how it worked out, but every two, like, there's just two that work well together. I didn't mean to do this one, but starting out,
it happened to go.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I love me some Hulk, man, and I would have liked to have put him higher, but unfortunately, I haven't read nearly enough Hulk. All the Hulk that my love for the Hulk is purely based in nostalgia of liking the idea of the character and acting like the character when I was younger. Like I loved playing Hulk,
everyone had those Hulk fists.
The foam fists. Yeah.
Everyone
like you had to have
those.
The foam fists, smash. And I do that shit all the time, like I had a great time pretending I was Hulk, and Bruce Banner and Hulk is such what I have read is such a fun and devastating dynamic at points, and just a great story element, and it has not been executed well enough in movies. But I will say I do need to revisit Incredible Hulk with Ed Norton. Need to revisit it badly, but yeah.
24. There he is. The first. Right. Is that? No, I think I've had. Did I have? Is that my first classic Avenger? I don't think so. No, I had Black Widow before. I think maybe
Clint Barton.
Did I have Hawkeye? I think, yeah.
I think you had
Hawk, yeah, true. Yeah, but I don't really count him.
Fuck that. Yeah.
But, yeah, Black Widow came in at 29, so I guess the next Hulk at 24 of the classic Avengers. So,
All right. Yeah, I had Hulk at 39. But with that, on to my 23. This is where I have Selena Kyle, Catwoman. And this one is one that's based in nostalgia and is also backed up by a recent performance. I really loved Selena Kyle when I was younger. I grew up on the Batman animated series and the old Batman movies, and Batman Returns with Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman. I loved that movie, and I loved Batman the animated series, and the connection that Bruce forms with Selena Kyle amidst that. Like the first 2 episodes of that show are centered around Selena Kyle. So she's a pretty iconic character, and to have gotten one with Zoe Kravitz so recently was fantastic. She was awesome as Selena Kyle and did elevate her up this list. Not by much. I think she started like at 35 when I first made this list before I saw the Batman. Then I saw the Batman. She bumped up 33. Saw the Batman again. She bumped up 31. Saw the Batman again. She bumped, and she just kept going up. Like I was like, man, the more I watch this, the more I really like this character. And, I've also recently read like Selena's big score from Batman, the Ego Tales. She's just a fun character with a lot there, and the whole cat burglar thing. Super dope. Dope.
She came in around 63 on my list, and I feel like that's just criminally way too low, especially after this new movie. But I think I made this list before before Robert Pattinson's Batman came out, and saw Zoe Kravitz in it, and I mean, she's definitely elevated, and I don't know how I was thinking put her down this low down there, but I mean, I think mainly through this list I was going just Marvel, like they were the first people who were in my mind, and DC kind of took a back seat a little bit, but I'm definitely glad she got the recognition up here because she deserves it.
Had to.
Moving on, my 23, another green, another female role here, Gamora. Gamora. That's where I have her. Of the Guardians crew, she is, I think she is the highest of the Guardians crew here, actually. And that is correct. Yeah, she's the top of the Guardians crew for me. Daughter of Thanos. She's badass. Sorry, Nebula, for not being as good as Gamora.
It's a rough one for you. Got a tough break there.
But man, I love me some Gamora. Out of the Guardians, she's the
fave.
Yeah, she's
the best.
There's no way around it. It's always hilarious whenever I think of the Guardian and just how like Peter Quill is like my least favorite Guardian out of them. But no, their love story, super interesting, is really good, and you get the moment in game where he gives him Gamora gives Peter Quill a good kick in the nuts, kind of
we all wanted.
Good satisfying thing there, and
no matter what, like even regardless of how good they in theory would go together, Gamora is so far out of Star-Lord's league, it's not even funny.
You think they find their way back to each other, or you think that they're...
I think so. I think that's like that'll ultimately be a really moving and emotional story of like them being kind of destined to come together at some point, and maybe then I'll really be fucking with Peter Quill, maybe then. But
man, that the sacrifice, man, she was one of the only ones who truly died. I guess we have another version of her that came back and all, but one of the only true deaths in the Infinity War and Endgame events.
What a massive twist, and just like I don't know what I was expecting of Infinity War, but it wasn't for Gamora to be a massive part of the story. You know what I'm saying? Like, and when we got it, I was like, I absolutely fucking love this. I don't know why I wouldn't have wanted or expected that.
One of the only people in the I mean, seemingly the only person that knew where the Soul Stone was. I guess apart from Red Skull, but he was banished there, couldn't really leave. So
he didn't find the Soul Stone. The Soul Stone found him.
Yeah. But man, Gamora, I loved how crucial she was, because she is, out of the Guardians, my favorite, and seeing how big of a role she had was really nice. But man, watching her fall, was
devastating, man.
Very devastating. But yeah, got my two green
at that point. I knew I cared about Gamora, but I didn't know I cared about Gamora so much that I would cry when she died. Like I was moved to tears when she died.
Thanos even cried.
Yeah, man. Like the way that she was like, "You don't care about anything. Like this is." She's like, "You're crying. Why are you crying? They're not for him."
Oh, God damn it, man. Why did it have to be Gamora? But at least we got, I guess now we have just badass Gamora coming forward, We just have we have a new start.
I'm hoping we get some more Gamora, daughter of Thanos, and What If. Like, I'm hoping that comes back around.
Yeah, I got my two green people, Hulk and Gamora. Didn't mean for that to happen, but it worked out that way.
I'll have Gamora up here in a little bit, But with that, my 22. This is where I have Loki.
Ooh, and very close. Very close.
Yeah, I was gonna say I really do like Loki, and I would have liked to have put him higher, but when it came to it, I just couldn't. I was like, yeah, this is where he belongs. And the series Loki itself did do fantastic for me. With in terms of pure enjoyment of the character, some of the most emotionally moving scenes. And regardless of how I feel about the series as a whole and how poorly it's aged in my mind, I need to go ahead and give it a rewatch at some point, but for some reason I for the life of me can't figure out why I liked it.
I think it's just how grand and how it was the first time where we really got a deep dive into the multiverse, and I think that was the distraction. Like you can put any other character in that show and it still works.
Yeah, and it is those first 2 episodes of Loki that I'm like, I love the character, and when I think about the character moments in Loki, they're from the first 2 episodes.
And it was
the first 3, but
we talked about it before. He's kind of before the shows came out, Bucky and Loki really carried the MCU and didn't get a lot of credit for it. They did a whole lot. They were there for a whole lot, and the shows kind of strengthened their character and made us realize that. And I guess that's one thing we could take out of the Loki show is having us realize all of the little intricacies of his character and giving us that deeper dive. And I mean, still, I don't know, we're getting, a season 2, of Loki. Yep. Very interested to see where that goes. And
I'm just hoping we see like a time door open and Multiverse of Madness, and we're like, oh shit, hell yeah, I'd love to see Loki pop up in that, and our Loki, not just a variant Loki, like the Loki we've come to know, and him being like maybe he comes to Doctor Strange and is like, yo, I can't figure this shit out.
To know about this.
Yeah, you need to know about this.
You think Doctor Strange knows or no? You think he knows of He Who Remains? You think he knows about this stuff?
He Who Remains is so beyond all of it that I don't think anyone knows he exists.
So you think
any
Loki
person who thinks they know it all doesn't quite.
So you think Loki and Sylvie were like the first? Well, I guess
him?
It's like time doesn't really matter there, so it's like who really is the first to meet them and like whatever. I don't want to think about that, but like out of the
as of
characters
right now, they're
know,
the only.
Interesting. I'd say if anyone knows, if anyone were to know, it'd be Doctor Strange or Wanda. Like if there's anyone who could possibly know, it's them too. But yeah. I think I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
I mean, it will be crazy if like Wanda, like Doctor Strange and Wanda are like talking, and she's like learned a ton from the Darkhold, and she's like just like passingly mentions He Who Remains, just like in casual conversation, and just like moves on, like, and he's like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
But interesting.
But yeah, so I had Loki here. I hope the sun does shine on them again. Him and Thor.
You only have a 1 gap difference here for us. Gotcha. But to fill that gap is Deadpool for me. This is where Deadpool resides. And I think it's just these are just 2 movies that I can watch infinitely many times. They're so well made. They're funny. They're make you cry at points. It's a true emotional roller coaster. A romance. Ooh, another romance. Here that really works well.
And I was so worried. I was looking through my list. I was like, did I not have Deadpool? No, I had Deadpool. Yeah. I had Deadpool at my 37.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I was like, fuck.
Mm-hmm. But man, I don't know. There's not a whole lot you can really say about Deadpool other than it's they're different movies from everything else. A lot of fourth wall breaks. Very, very, more comedy centric. Very, very vulgar. Very adult. And very interesting to see where he fits in the MCU. And how they ring him in. how that'll happen, if they stick with the adult stuff, or if they'll tone them down a bit, or
I think I think they'll stick with some adult stuff. And I don't think that I think it'll definitely be a tone down. Like I don't think we'll be getting quite as many like dick and cum jokes, which Deadpool liked. So like he likes referencing sucking dick a lot, which is hilarious. But cradling Wolverine's balls and stuff. But I still think we'll get a very funny Deadpool. With Sean Levy being confirmed to be directing Deadpool 3 for Disney. I think that's really encouraging. Just based off what we've seen recently with Free Guy and the Adam Project. These are roles that Ryan Reynolds. I mean, like Ryan Reynolds is a pretty good actor, but he's usually Ryan Reynolds. In some variation, and he was still funny as fuck, even without all the vulgarity. He was still super funny, super comedic, super entertaining, and I can only imagine Deadpool will be every bit as entertaining. And I feel like if you're like, he needs to say fuck, he needs to say come, I don't know. I think that's all right. I think we'll live.
True.
But I will understand more if people are disappointed with a tone down in maybe the violence. That's typically pretty typical of Deadpool, is to be brutal.
True. Swords. Yeah, I mean swords aren't very clean weapons to kill with.
We watch bullets travel through three people's heads.
True. Swords. Oh yeah, he's very creative in the way he kills.
Yeah, exactly. So if there's some tone down there, I'll get complaints. I'll understand that. But in terms of language itself, I think we can live without it. You know what I'm saying?
These movies are for the kids, like Marvel, ultimately. But this is one where,
unless they're willing to open it up and go rated R with it, hey, I'll be there for that. But we'll see.
But yeah, that's my 22, Deadpool.
Baller. My 21, coming off of Loki. This is where I have Doctor Strange. Little low in terms of a top 25, one might think. And I assume you do think.
I do think.
I do think. But no, yeah, Doctor Strange is just one that I've never latched onto. I do like Doctor Strange a lot, but when I watched the movie Doctor Strange, and then I watched Infinity War, and I watched all this stuff, there hasn't been that thing yet for me that made me go, and the closest I think they've gotten are recently with What If and No Way Home. Those are the closest I've been to really liking Doctor Strange, for just personally. And What If really did that. I think that might be my favorite Doctor Strange content right now in terms of the character itself. I do love the movie, and I think the movie's fantastic, but I don't come away from it loving Doctor Strange. I come away from What If going, yeah, Doctor Strange is a hero, and and I think he deserves to be regarded as such. But yeah, and I love Benedict Cumberbatch in the role. Doctor Strange is
Benadryl Cumberboy. I love how you can say his name in any fashion and you know exactly who you're talking about. But he'll come. He will come later in this episode for me. So I guess I'll save a little bit because he's pretty high up on mine. He's aging like some fine wine, in my opinion. And
don't get me wrong, I think this episode will come out prior to Doctor Strange 2. I think. If it doesn't, this is probably changed. I'm imagining Doctor Strange 2 is going to do a lot for me in the Doctor Strange department. It feels like it's gonna anyway, just based off the trailers and my hype going into this movie for, coming off of What If. I think that was a really encouraging example of what they might be doing going forward with Doctor Strange, is this really intense, dramatic, conflicted hero who has to make the tough choice. And I think that could be really cool. And it has been really cool. I just hope there's a little bit more for me to latch on to in terms of genuinely being like, fuck yeah, I love this guy. You know, like when he's on screen, he just makes me happy. Like I don't have that yet, you know, but I do like Doctor Strange a lot.
Okay. Alrighty. Moving on. This is where Loki resides for me at 21. And I guess, you know, we've already said as much as we can kind of say on Loki so far. I guess we can reminisce on his older moments and not just the TV show. You know, him and Thor, their dynamic is really amazing, and
Tom
see
Hiddleston rocks.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think we mentioned Tom Hiddleston being
he
awesome.
fucks. Yeah. Everyone loves Tom Hiddleston. He just
That's Taylor Swift.
He's a sexy man. He knows how to play this role well. You know, the narcissist and everything, but seeing what his character is turning into is really interesting, and hopefully the future is bright.
They left that man broken at the end of season 1 of Loki, so I'm hoping like this man's down bad right now.
He got rejected by himself.
Yeah.
So yeah. Damn.
But also not himself.
True.
Herself? Huh.
What a weird dynamic that
their
really
self
with their
that's the way to go
there.
with it.
Thank you.
Yeah, their self. But I do love me some Loki though, you know, and I think the way they've evolved his character over time is indicative of a character that they didn't have a plan for. You know, but that they are kind of making it up as they go. I think it's evident with his disappearances and reappearances. And did he die? Maybe, but we'll see.
No resurrections this time. Well,
he's gonna have a whole series after this. They were like, "Don't worry, it's set after 2012's Avengers."
Yeah, what a confusing.
And then
character.
It fucked everything.
Yeah, it's making everything blow up. But
and that's what's crazy too is like, so these are all parts of a whole. Then, you know, what happened with Spider-Man, what happened in What If, what happened in Loki. These are all things that lent to the breaking of the multiverse. Not any one of them was the cause directly, you know, like
and that's the thing, is that like in my mind, no way can one thing in one universe break the entire multiverse. Something had to happen multiversally in order for this to happen. And like our mind is thinking like, I mean, the Spider-Man spell, that's huge. That's all of Earth, but that's just Earth, you know? And like, it's all these big things that are happening, but like I feel like our minds are just going to be just blown. And whether that's Ultron, whether it's freaking the Illuminati, whether, you know, who, like, I have zero clue what it's going towards. But I love that we get, you know, that first, the first introduction to the multiverse with Loki, was super cool. A really cool 6-episode series. We theorized a whole lot about it. And it was super fun whenever we did cover it. So I'm excited for season 2.
It was so much fun on Loki's Losers, man. Like the theorizing we could do there.
Each
was
episode,
just so...
it was this color, it's this stone, and we're like, no, we're done with the stones. They're paperweights now. But it's like, oh, and you know, we went, there's so much back and forth that we had. It was, oh yeah,
and it was a genuinely fun time. You know, like trying to crack the code on Loki, and you know, like while the show was going on, I did quite enjoy it. You know, I did have my complaints and I did have my gripes, but
soundtrack.
Oh man, Natalia Holt nailed that shit, man. That fucking synthy, bro. I still listen to that shit. It's fantastic, but yeah, that the visuals, like, I don't think an MCU show has been quite as visually distinctive. I mean, obviously, WandaVision had its visual innovations. Quite apparently, you know, like it was more broad strokes. Obviously, this is different than what you've seen before. But this was just interestingly shot. You know, I think about like when they entered He Who Remains' palace, and like they did that spinning camera where they were coming down the hall, and you saw it. Like, that's just an interesting choice to make. They didn't have to do that. There was no like, and I appreciate shit like that. And Yeah, Loki, I will say, I think Loki was the best looking Marvel series we've gotten so far.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
and that's a huge credit to it.
Dealing with infinite space and stuff like that. There were talk about some wallpaper moments with that show. There, you could take some freeze frames and yeah. But I feel Loki, a very interesting character. Very we'll see where it goes in the future. But yeah, that's where my 21 Loki.
All right. So on to my 20. This is where I have the Silver Surfer.
Thank you. Thank you.
Of course.
Did not have him. I do not know much about him, so thank you for giving him the spotlight.
I had to give him a top 25 spot, man. And if for no other reason, Dan Slott's Silver Surfer run in the comics, I saw a tweet recently that was like, if you could recommend any, what's your go-to recommendation for comics? It's that. It's Dan Slott writing Silver Surfer. It's just such a fun story because it takes place after what you know as typical Silver Surfer's origin story, being the Herald of Galactus and having to have left his planet, sacrificed himself to serve Galactus, for Zenla. It's after this where he's found a woman on Earth named Dawn Greenwood who he falls in love with, and it's sort of like it's a cosmically large love story about just this guy and this girl from Earth. And I think it's really really cool and really moving, really heartfelt, and it humanizes the shit out of Silver Surfer. We know him typically as this sort of robotic servant of Galactus, and this goes beyond it to give him some humanity, to show us the Norrin Rad in Silver Surfer, and super awesome dude. And I hope it's more. I hope that's more the direction we go with the MCU. Silver Surfer is one that's more humanized eventually than we ever have gotten on screen. Love me some Silver Surfer, man.
Yeah. Don't know a whole lot about the character. I did start watching the the animated series of the old cartoon a while back ago. I think I'll
point introductions and stuff.
Yeah, I didn't get too far into it, but man, it was, I don't know, just such a cool show and an interesting character, because I didn't really know the origin story of Silver Surfer before that. That was kind of my introduction to his origin story. I thought he was always that way. I didn't know he was a human
humanoid.
And all that stuff happened to him. I had no idea. I don't know. In the Doctor Strange trailer, I know a lot of people. I mean, there is this when they're in the Illuminati building.
Oh yeah.
And there's this statue. It's not Silver Surfer, but it is just a silver dude. I don't know. It looks to me as if this is the kind of a clear Silver Surfer memorial in some point or in some fashion. I don't know.
That'd be pretty cool.
I mean, it's, this is the Illuminati's headquarters, or what I presume to be.
My money on that is an homage to Iron Man made by Iron Man.
That's
I'd
fair.
be willing to bet he built a statue honoring himself.
But I mean, I don't know. This is looking like some water or something, and
that does look like some Silver Surfer.
I don't know what the sword is necessarily, but this is multiversal, So
exactly.
There has to be different versions of Silver Surfer, I guess. But I don't know. That was one moment that I was like, oh, okay, maybe. Hopefully, they're introducing him sometime soon, just like a super cool character.
Man, I want them to just drop in. After the Fantastic Four, or maybe even before the Fantastic Four is introduced, allude to the fact that Galactus exists by showing us Silver Surfer. he's out there, you know. Silver Surfer already exists. There's a reason he's Silver Surfer. It's because Galactus made him that way.
No way they retcon that, right? Like
I can't imagine they do. And if they do, I'm going to be kind of annoyed. Because like that's, I don't know how else you go about it.
It's kind of his character.
Yeah, it's kind of the whole fucking thing. Unless they're going to go with a whole new revamp, in which case they'd have to nail it for me to really like. And I'm usually not one for the comic, like the complaints about comic accuracy, but like I just can't imagine what you might be doing with the Silver Surfer if it's not that. And if you do happen to change up the origin story, make it a side character who seems like nobody for a while, and then he just like something happens and he becomes a Silver Surfer, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like then okay, yeah, sure. But if you're like, yeah, this other alien just happened to fall into a giant pit of liquid metal, became Silver Surfer. I don't know.
Okay. Definitely glad he made your list. He deserves to be up there. I just don't have enough of the character to talk about or to know really. But moving on, this is the top 20, I guess.
Top 20.
20. This is where Magneto lies for me.
Okay.
And I don't know. Out of the X-Men, there's 3 people out of the X-Men that I really, really like. And he pairs with someone here. Thought it was only fitting to put him there, but you know, Magneto, he's badass. All of his moments that he's so clean with it. He's so like effortless with what he does. You know, whether he's picking up a stadium, whether he's just has 3 or 2 little metal balls that he turns into a platform to make him hover, escape from prison, or anything he does is just. I don't know. He's so clean and effortless. And one of my favorite moments of Magneto is wherever it's him and Charles, and he's like trying to move the satellite, the huge satellite dish, and he eventually does like that. Just I don't know.
At a point, training him at a point where it wasn't effortless, where this is what unlocks that. This is what
he's like. There's no way I can do that. That's so like no way I can do that. He's like no possible way. No, just focus. Like true emotion is what gets him there, and from that point on, he uses a different kind of emotion to get him there. Maybe more rage filled or whatever, what have you. But I don't know. It always
find the place between.
Oh yeah, what a beautiful. Oh man, out of the X-Men movies, I think these are 2. Charles and him are some of my favorites, and one of them is coming up a little later on the list of out of the X-Men. But it's just he's pretty iconic there, and kind of in a different league. But these 2, as I've watched the X-Men, are just 2 of my favorite people, and I love their dynamic that they share and everything. So, but yeah,
all right,
Magneto cracking my top 20.
Love that. Yeah, I'll be talking about Magneto later. I'll be talking about him later on in this episode. But I like him there. I like it whenever we've had a few of these now where the top 25 characters, there's going to be some similarities in terms of overlap, but I don't know how many will be in the same spot. It's interesting to see how big of a difference there is within our top 25 for characters.
Coming up, you've mentioned 7 characters that are still yet to be named on mine so far.
Oh, you've mentioned 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I think, that are still yet to come.
There we go. I think very similar, but just in a different order. It feels like for most of these coming up, most likely, but
almost certainly. But with that, I'll go on to my 19, and this is where I have Tony Stark, Iron Man. Obviously, love the guy. He's a legend. He sacrificed himself for the galaxy. For that, I will be eternally grateful. But it took me a while to get there. I didn't really love Tony Stark as a character until Endgame. You know, I thought it's similar in the way I feel about Doctor Strange. You know, like I thought he was cool. Thought his on-screen performances were dope. Thought Robert Downey Jr. is a fantastic casting. Thought like well performed. The action sequences are awesome, but there's nothing there yet that I'm like, yeah, I love this guy. And it wasn't until he had Morgan and he had something to fight for that I felt he truly had something to fight for that I really loved him. And I'm still there with Doctor Strange where I'm like, I don't know. There's nothing that I feel like there's something that's like, yeah, that about you makes me love you. And it was his paternal instinct for me that eventually got me on Tony Stark, you know, and he had to develop to that point. And I appreciate the development. And at the end, having all his character in consideration, a fantastic arc, you know, I really, really love it. And he had to break the top 20. There was no doubt about that. But yeah, that marks the third of the original Avengers for me. I think I've had Clint Barton, I've had Hulk, and now I've had Tony Stark. So much to look forward to. 3 left, you know, 3 down, 3 to go.
I think, you know, I love me some Iron Man. I was always team Iron Man, you know, from pretty early on. He was one I did latch onto pretty early. I guess there's kind of two camps of Marvel people or Marvel fans in the earlier stages. You know, you're either Team Cap or Team Iron Man. It felt like, and Civil War really divided that group very well there.
Very, very purposely.
But yeah, Iron Man, he will be coming up later on mine. But I definitely see where you're coming from. He's an arrogant asshole. You know, and there's not many redeeming qualities about him until he does.
Hey, he made some leaps within those films, though, you know. Something fell behind me. It's kind of freaky. It's being played while the scene from the Batman's The First Killing with the Riddler is playing on my stereo right now, mayoral ducting, creepy. And that happened. So I was like,
that's creepy.
Right. So if you see anything pop up behind me, just let me know beforehand.
Gotcha.
But
Wow.
No, yeah, you know, he did see some incredible development over the course of those films, and they were developments that I couldn't come to appreciate really until I was an older viewer, you know, like where I truly had opinions about the things that were happening. Like in 2008, when I'm watching Iron Man decide he doesn't want to be a part of the military industrial complex and he doesn't want to lend to the destruction that's not resonating with me when I'm that age, you know. It's like, oh, cool, he became Iron Man, like that's dope. Yeah, and then, you know, when I get older, I'm like, you know what, that was really cool. Like that's a really cool development on his part, as far as his character is concerned. And you know, the way he goes about it thereafter, I don't know if I would exactly enjoy that if he was a real life person, but in a fictional character, I can get behind it.
Okay. Well, I'll save some Iron Man talk for whenever he pops up a little later. But
alrighty,
my 19, another kind of arrogant, another little narcissistic kind of pick here. This is where Charles Xavier, Professor X, lies. I felt it was only fitting to put him there with Magneto, because that's why I like these characters so much. Is their interactions, but the reason Charles is above Magneto is I think he has a little more to his character and, you know, a lot more focus. You know, he's you know, the one who starts it all. He's, you know, starts the school and everything. It's kind of a lot centered around him. And even though he has his arrogant moments and he's very self-centered and likes his ego and stuff like that, I think it's more of, you know, the concept of this character. Another Brainiac, you know, I like any type of intelligence or Brainiac characters I love, and I don't know, Cerebro, he just has a lot of just super cool things surrounding him, and he's always so wise and stuff like that, and he brings out kind of the best in the mutants and
oh, certainly. I think Professor X is a fantastic character. You know, he's such he's well-meaning. You know, no matter how much of an asshole he can be and how selfish he can be, it's typically at a place that's motivated by trying to do the best thing. And that's admirable in and of itself, you know, like whether it truly is the best thing for everyone, who knows, but at least he thinks he's doing the right thing, you know, and typically it's more on the side of good than bad. So that's good. But yeah, he's an admirable character. And I mean, Patrick Stewart as Professor X, fantastic. James McAvoy, fucking
we should tell
awesome.
him the truth, you know.
We should tell him the truth.
Hearing his voice was nice. You know, that's cool. You know, he's coming. That's for sure. We're getting.
Oh yeah, now they've done he's done interviews since where like he wasn't gonna do not in it. He was like, I just couldn't believe they could tell it was me off my shoulder, my voice. That was pretty cool. And yeah, so like it's definitely him. He's definitely in the movie. The one we need to pick away at now is James McAvoy. Are you in it? Are you in it? Are you in it? But nah, I really do love me some Professor X, and you know, introducing Professor X obviously gives me hope for the introduction of Magneto potentially sooner than later, which would be awesome. But yeah, so Professor X at year 19, is that what that was?
Yep.
Alrighty. My 18. You know, coming off of Tony Stark, it felt right. Only to have Steve Rogers, Captain America. Not, you know, I when it got down to it, I loved me some Steve Rogers, you know, and if I had to pick between Iron Man and Cap back in the day when I was younger, I was definitely team Cap back in the day, you know. It was, I liked the dude who was beating the shit out of and killing Nazis, you know, like that's easy to get behind. That's really easy to get behind, and you know, and then he continued fighting Nazis pretty much the rest of the time, you know, with Winter Soldier, and then it wasn't until Civil War that I was like, I don't know, Cap. You might be fucking up. I appreciate freedom and all, but I don't know about that. And you know, obviously that opinion of mine's been refined over the last few years. Not really at the time when I was 16 was I considering the actual real world implications of such things. But yeah, Chris Evans as Steve Rogers has been fucking awesome. I loved that. Loved him in that role. He had some great moments, you know. I mean, and I can't think of I know I was excited to see Toby and Andrew, you know. I know I was excited to see Toby and Andrew, but I thought I would, you know, like I thought I would see that. Never did I think I would see him wield Mjolnir and throw it at the back of Thanos and come back catch. Like, dude, the first time I saw that was one of the most exciting moments I've ever seen in my life. When I was, I think 19. Like I was like, oh yeah, my 2019, God.
Man, that was. I mean, you have Iron Man and Cap's moments there, and that movie. You have the snap, and you have him wielding Mjolnir and just kicking the shit out of Thanos. You know, he's you know, you have that tease. You have that tease in Age of Ultron where he gets Mjolnir to budge a little bit, and Thor's face, you know, he's like, oh. And then at the very end, he's like, I knew it, you know, right before he gets kicked down and knocked out.
And I love that, you know, because like that was another moment that showed like Thor's development too, because like in Ultron, he would have been like jealous and like kind of pissed, like, fuck. Yeah. You're kidding me. And then in this moment, it's like, oh,
he's happy for him.
I'm so proud of you, man. That makes so much sense. Of course. Like, I think that was so cool. I knew it. Because it's not just I knew you could lift Mjolnir. It was, I knew you were worthy. Like, I knew you were worthy of doing that.
Oh yeah.
You know, like that's such a cool, like that's such a great sentiment coming from Thor. And, I absolutely love that. And, you know, if there was, up to this point, any character in the movies who probably was worthy, it was I mean, not Tony Stark. It was Steve Rogers. Steve Rogers.
Oh yeah. We only have a one gap difference here.
I figured that one wasn't too much of a difference.
Very not far off, but it only felt fitting to put Bucky here. So that's kind of cool that we have Bucky and Cap in the same slot here. So Bucky he's my 18.
Makes sense.
And yeah, definitely the Falcon and Winter Soldier is what elevated him. That show, it still is my favorite out of the three, excluding What If. Out of the 3 live action shows, it's my favorite. And that's kind of a hot take for some people. I think WandaVision is kind, or maybe Loki is the crowd favorite just because of how big it was. I think WandaVision is the true favorite.
I think the people who love WandaVision more than the other shows are loved. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know if that's measurable, but I think that's fair.
But there's a certain realness to the Falcon and Winter Soldier. It was more real world. And Bucky, that moment in Wakanda where he doesn't break. I bawled my eyes out. Just strengthened Bucky's character so much. Like how much Bucky has carried the MCU before, and not realizing it really until this show is kind of sad. But I'm glad he's put up on a pedestal now, and he's seen as such a crucial
essential character.
Oh yeah, huge character. And wherever he goes, I'm interested. He's 100 however years old. Just such a cool.
You ever read The Hobbit? Yeah, I read it when it came out.
Oh yeah, forget you're an old ass dude.
Yeah, I read it at the end of the 1930s.
The only other old ass dude, his friend, he got to live out his life, and we saw him old at the end. We see his age, but Bucky, nah, he's still just Bucky.
He was truly alone until he found Sam. He needed his Sam. He needed a replacement for his old Stevie boy.
He needed a new Cap.
And Sam needed a replacement for old Stevie boy. So it only made sense that they came together.
Yeah.
But yeah, all right, cool. So that was your 18.
Mm-hmm.
All right, my 17. This is one that you have said, and now I will as well. This is where I have Gamora. Love me some Gamora. I think there's more to admire there than there is about most characters. The adversity she had to overcome to become the character we meet, the character we come to love, is pretty astounding. Her dad was Thanos. That's about as hard as it gets as a young child. Dang. I'd imagine.
Talk about some daddy issues. She's got that's not a dad that I would prefer.
The only person who might have one of the only people who might have it worse than her is Peter Quill with ego.
It was interesting how Thanos kind of took a liking to her right away. He's on this planet where he's
he picked her up from that planet. It was like and it's kind of that makes me go, it was probably a tactically motivated decision to pick up a young child who could become a soldier to do his bidding. I think is kind of the motivation there.
I guess how bad of a guy Thanos is. He did love her.
He did love her. He says he did anyway, and he at least felt it, and the Soul Stone granted it true.
Mm-hmm.
But Gamora, man, she was such a cool character, and I look forward to anything we can get in the future with her. Zoe Saldana is fucking awesome as Gamora. Another actress who was in the Atom Project alongside Ryan Reynolds, but she's awesome. Just cannot wait for any more Gamora we can get, and truly the best member of the Guardians. There's no doubt for me.
No doubt there. Oh yeah, glad she's up there for both of us. It's only fitting that she's up here. But my 17, I already kind of went into it. But this is where Steve Rogers, where not Captain America any longer, but Steve Rogers. This is where he lies for me with Bucky. Another one of these the duos that I had. And he's grown. He's grown on me. I used to, for some reason, I didn't like Cap just because of how much I liked Iron Man. And he seemed like an enemy, to me at one point. But since I've grown, and rewatched the Captain America movies. Realized how, the Winter Soldier especially, that's a movie right there that I very much underappreciated. But my favorite Steve moment, far and away, has to be after he returns the stones and he just lives. He decides to live some of that life.
You want to tell me about it?
No,
I don't think I will.
Yeah, he in that song, it's been a long time. I just when they're dancing together, you just hear the trumpets going, and it's you know what, like surface level, it's kind of people were like it was selfish of him to do that, but like dude's gone through so much.
He'd earned it. I'd say. I think he'd earned it.
And all. Didn't live at all. They wanted that one dance from the first Captain America movie before he went in down under the ice, and they finally got it. They were destined to be together, and it's shown in What If that they're no matter what happens, they're destined to be together, whether whoever gets the super serum. And I don't know, Steve, he's grown a lot on me. Don't know why I just liked him so much. It's just probably because of the Iron Man. It's just Civil War.
There's this contention, especially amongst most fans who grew up with the MCU. That's like, oh, you had to like one or the other. You had to. And then come Endgame, we were all old enough to go, yeah, okay, I kind of fuck with them both. All right. But yeah, hell yeah. So that made Steve Rogers your 17.
Yep.
With that onto my 16, this is where I have Thor, God of Thunder. Love me some Thor. I think he's an awesome character. And when I was younger, I would have told you like, you team Iron Man? No. You team Cap? No. I was team Thor, bro. I loved the Thor movies more than any of them from a very early age, and I think that makes sense. Given the subject matter at hand for the other two, like it's like, oh yeah, I could get more into the fantasy out there as Guardian shit, mythology sort of feel, and obviously he gets sent down to Earth there, and Thor, and love me some Natalie Portman, loved all that. So, I mean, I was on Thor from an early age. I wanted to swing the hammer. I wanted that. That was I didn't want the shield. I didn't want the repulsor lifts. I wanted Mjolnir. I wanted the hammer. And
underrated.
Therefore, Thor was definitely my favorite of that trio. Like whenever they show that shot of them at the when they're facing off with Thanos in Endgame, I was like, yeah, those are the guys. And I like that the MCU had the wherewithal to also go, yeah, we've done a disservice to Hulk, and therefore he doesn't belong in this shot. It
would have been kind of forced to put him there.
Yeah,
it would have felt a little weird.
And Hawkeye, they had the wherewithal to not include either of them.
Always forget about poor Hawkeye, poor Clint. He's coming around though.
Yeah, he came around. Yeah, I hope he's done though.
True. Yeah, hopefully just be at home with your wife, man. Just stay there, stay with your family.
Stay there, stay happy, man. Just stay out of it. You kind of earned it now, I guess.
True.
But yeah, I love me some Thor, and I cannot wait for Love and Thunder. Can't wait for Volume 3 of Guardians of the Galaxy. I only expect great things from Thor herein. I think Chris Hemsworth is a fucking awesome cast in that choice.
Another.
But yeah, that parallel between him and Loki in the series, that's pretty fantastic. I love that. But yeah, Thor, he's always been one that's I've been happy with, and I only expect more happiness from Thor.
It'll be coming up a little later. Didn't quite crack my top 10, but he's almost there. So he's coming up in a little. But my 16, this is where I have Miles Morales in one of my favorite comic book movies of all time.
Certainly amongst them. It's, with some recent editions, it's gotten hard.
It's getting difficult. But this one was kind of the first that really solidified as like after I watched, I'm like, holy shit, how did I not watch this earlier?
Right.
And wow, I'm gonna watch this 800 more times. It's just such
Into
a
the
fun.
Spider-Verse is so fucking good.
I mean, Into the Spider-Verse walked so that No Way Home could fly. You know, they're very similar movies. Very, very similar, but Into the Spider-Verse is, in my opinion, more fun. You know, you take Toby and Andrew out of No Way Home, you know, I think a little bit of the hype, you know, I don't know. No, I'm not trying to discredit No Way Home in any way. It was amazing, and I love that movie to death still. But I'm thinking rewatchability. I think I'm going to go back to the Spider-Verse more than No Way Home.
I think I will too. You know, I've had the chance now that I own it digitally and stuff with No Way Home, and I've watched it a couple times since then. But Spider-Verse is always that's one that's stayed in the rotation for years now, and No Way Home will too.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that there's this certain it's a better story. Like it's a genuinely better. I mean, it's a better movie. I don't think there's any question about it. Now, in terms of excitement and you know, satisfaction, as far as, you know, seeing Tom Holland and seeing Tobey Maguire and seeing Andrew Garfield all on screen together, yeah,
that will never get old. That
will never get old. And that's the thing for me. I can watch the entirety of Into the Spider-Verse and be gripped from the first scene to the last scene. Rewatching No Way Home, I come to the realization after I've seen it in theaters a couple times and I'm watching it at home, I like the second half of the movie. It gets really good when, you know, Gabi reveals himself, and I say it's as soon as that dolly cam shot happens when he first gets his spider sense for Green Goblin being bad. That's the beginning of when the movie gets good, like purely good.
Oh yeah,
and boy, is it good after that point. That's a really good, because that's right after that May dies, and then right after that Andrew and Toby are introduced. Right after that they go and see Tom. Right after that they're figuring out how to fix everything.
Really,
right after that they fix everything. It's all gas from there on out. Like it's they had to do a lot of setup in that first half of the movie, you know, and to warrant the back half, which I understand. But Into the Spider-Verse, it gets you the whole time. You're there the entire time.
And I can't wait to see the live action Miles Morales. You know, we got a little hint with Jamie Foxx saying, you know, there's got to be a Black Spider-Man out there somewhere, right? You know, we got that little hint there with Donald Glover, you know, being I love to see him as the Prowler. Would that age work out? I guess he could still be an uncle, a young uncle.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He could certainly be an uncle, you know. Especially if they go the young route with Miles Morales. Like, he could be an uncle to a 16-year-old kid. He's just a younger brother to the father, you know, to Jeffrey. But, you know, I mean, we see in Homecoming, you know, like he's listing off these things. These guys like, hey, bro, I can hit you with these advanced these anti-grav climbers. And up to that point, Donald Glover had been like, nah, man. And then he said, anti-grav climbers, hold up. And then, like, it's like, oh. Prowler much? I'd like to see that, you know, and I think we will one day. I don't think Donald Glover sits out being a part of the Marvel universe when he has the opportunity, you know, and but more quickly pressed, I'm excited for Across the Spider-Verse, the sequel to Into the Spider-Verse with Miles Morales. That'll be so fucking good.
Oh yeah, Miles. I mean, a Spider-Man character. I mean, Spider-Man he'll come much later. But this is kind of a better Spider-Man story. The story is what really is what does it for me with Miles, and it's just like I cry every time, I laugh every time, I have the most fun while watching that movie.
It's so good. It is so fucking good.
Sweet 16 felt right.
Hey, all right. So now we enter the top 15.
Yes, we do.
And to kick off my top 15, I went to the DC realm with Harley Quinn.
Okay.
Love me some Harley Quinn. She's an awesome character, and she's only gotten more awesome in recent years. You know, I love Margot Robbie. But the thing that like I've mentioned it a couple times throughout this series now, the Harley Quinn animated series is what is like the content for Harley Quinn that I've latched onto. Like I fucking love that show, and I cannot recommend it enough as far as superhero comedy is concerned. It is so fucking funny, so fucking good. Kaylee Cuoco from Big Bang Theory is the voice of Harley Quinn in that. And she does a really good job. But going back to the Batman animated series, that's I grew up with the Batman animated series, and that's where that character is original to. And I really, really enjoy the appearances there. I appreciate more what the character has become now, but the classic elements of the character have only lended to that story. They incorporated it being like she was that once, but she's blossomed and moved on from that stage. And I really like that, instead of just being like, fully erase that. Like that never happened. It's like, nah, she overcame that. I think that's cool.
That is big.
And the Harley Quinn animated series really plays on that, and they do a really good job with it.
That is nice. Yeah, because in of what I know of Harley Quinn, I know her from the Arkham games, and she's basically just B-Man, Mr. J, B-Man, Mr. J, all that. You hear her voice, you see her with her, whether it's a sledgehammer, a bat, or whatever she had, it's Harley Quinn, like that red, black, the white face paint, if need be.
Oh yeah, that's why I love the Harley Quinn animated series is that there's a purposeful like evolution. She starts the first episode as that old Harley Quinn, ride or die for Joker, and as the episode goes on, she realizes Joker's treating her like shit, etc. And she gets an outfit change amidst a fight. Her hammer breaks. She finds a baseball bat, and it's like, yeah, this is my shit now, And I really like that. I thought that was a fun and obvious way to put it, and. A lot of DC characters needed evolving like that, and Harley Quinn was one of them. And I love Birds of Prey. I love the Suicide Squad. I can only look forward to any more Margot Robbie.
That javelin moment, where the flower, she's just wrecking people, and you just see flower like that. What a visually cool scene! Like,
what a fantastic! And her coming outside the building with them trying to break her out, and her being like, "What are you guys doing?" Like, because she already got out. Like, she didn't need any of their help. She'd already made it out. And they're like, wait, what the fuck? Yep, she's a badass. But yeah, Harley Quinn, she rocks. And she had to be in my top 15.
That's awesome. Starting out my top 15 is a menace. A menace and a childhood villain that I latched onto, and that's the Green Goblin. And I
trick of yours,
villains are interesting for me. I think I can appreciate villains a little more. I like how they're crafted, and he he's only in one movie, but he carries on throughout the rest of the trilogy with Harry, and like the psychotic part of him speaking to Harry and telling him to do all these things, but him William Dafoe, or Dafoe,
William Dafoe,
as he pronounced his own name wrong in high school, whatever. But that suit that he had in the first movie is just iconic. And that glider, every moment that he has, he's a menace, man. He just
morality. It's choking you. Can you feel it, dude? Like that. I will say I loved Willem Dafoe in Spider-Man. Like that's obviously one that I grew up with, 2002. But man, his performance in No Way Home made him one of the best MCU villains. Not just one of the best Marvel villains, but amongst the MCU, he's towards the top now.
He was
broken. What I'm saying?
Like he was truly broken, and
he steered so. Like, I love that he wore the mask a lot less, so you got to see Willem Dafoe act a lot more instead of the mask.
Initially, acting. Like when he broke the mask, I was like, "Whoa!" Like, excuse me. I was like, "No, that's what." But then, like further on in the movie, seeing what his character turned into and everything, like, oh no, gotta love the fact they got rid of the mask.
I just love seeing his face while he's performing, dude, because he was and it's that line that I mentioned when he's holding Peter Parker down after he's thrown him through 5 floors and he's choking him. He's like, "Your morality, it's choking you. Can you feel it?" And he's got like a huge smile on his face. Like, I'm like, that is some of the most Green Goblin shit he's ever done.
Killing it, man, being like, "You'll thank me later," basically for killing. He's like, "You'll thank me later." Yeah, like, because he knows from his Spidey, from Toby, he knows that's what, what did his, like, that was everything. So he's like, "Well, sorry it has to happen, but I'm going to do it to you." Dude's just an absolute menace.
And he's just evil. He just wants to hurt Spider-Man.
Just purely evil. That's it. That's a superhero as it gets, it's, I don't know.
It's as comic book as it
gets.
Yeah,
there you go. Least. Yeah, not superhero. Yeah, not much of a hero at all.
No, very much so, as super villainy as it gets.
But I love me some Green Goblin, and only felt right that he cracks my top 15.
Man, yeah, I think I might have. I feel right about mine too, but man, it sucks that there are so many characters I like that he had to go somewhere in the 30s. But like, man, I loved me some Green Goblin, man, and it's interesting hearing you throw out Green Goblin here because it gives me a little bit of an idea of who you might have coming next or soon. But
I do group people
together. I think we had them flipped. I think I had.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but we'll get there. Mm-hmm. My 14. This is where I have Poison Ivy, Pamela Isley, from the Batman fame.
Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy. That's a cool little duo there.
Yeah, had to. They're actually now probably, besides a certain Marvel couple that is yet to be named, is probably my favorite comic book romantic pairing. Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy. They are really fucking awesome together, and their friendship blossoming into something of a romance is really cool. And Poison Ivy, another character that desperately needed modernization. Because like how much of a villain is this? I mean, she's obviously doing some villain shit, but reframing it as environmental, an environmental activist who's taken it a bit far. She's featured in the animated series, like killing heads of oil companies, like melting them with acid and stuff. Like people who are destroying the environment, she goes after because, hey, you're killing the planet and I need you to stop doing that. And there's something there with Harley Quinn having treated her in Arkham and her being the only one she's ever been able to relate to and only one who's ever understood her and been able to talk to her through it. And like, they just really, they're a great pairing, and I had to have them one after the other here. But I hold Poison Ivy in some pretty high esteem. I love me some Poison Ivy, and, going back to Uma Thurman and Batman and Robin, thinking about the Batman animated series, thinking about, Arkham again, super awesome Poison Ivy adaptation in that. But yeah, that Harley Quinn animated series is what I'm hoping they kind of go for in the future with Poison Ivy in terms of what they want the general perception of the character to be. I'm okay with a little darker, a little bit more something there with like the Batman adaptation. That'd be cool. But
I get behind.
I like the anti-hero vein for her instead of the supervillain.
I can get behind trying to save the Earth. Whether she does it in the right or wrong way, I can get behind that a little bit.
Right.
And fitting now, if it comes out in live action, it's a very prominent problem that we're still facing. So it would be nice to have it in some future live action. With this Batman, I'm super excited for the future of
man with modern effects and stuff. I just feel like we can nail a Poison Ivy these days.
No, I was gonna say any character that could turn into her, but no, we haven't been introduced to it really much yet. No, I was gonna say. Anyway, 14 paired with Green Goblin here. Only felt right to put Doc Ock. Put Doc Ock right here. He's out of the Spidey villains. Doc Ock, he was the one I latched on to. I don't know whether I watched Spider-Man 1 or 2 more, but if I had to guess, I'd say Spider-Man 2 might edge it out a little bit. And it's the power of the sun in the palm of my hands. It's that whole, the science, the brain. I guess, Green Goblin's he has some science behind him, but he's not the main science. He's just the CEO of the company. But Doc Ock, he's truly the scientist behind everything. He's crafting this machine for the betterment of humanity, but just that little chip, that makes his brain go crazy. That when it gets smashed and it takes control over him. And another menace, he the moment of realization where he's like, I know what I need to do. I need to go get Aunt May. And that's the only way this is going to work. He's so quick with it, and how it takes over his mind and his sacrifice at the end. Whenever he realizes all the wrongdoings and things that he's done, and he sinks, his reactor. But him in No Way Home though, was really cool. Him seeing, like the replicator and like him being against it, and he's like, no, like maybe we don't want this, but then you see him like wake up for the first time.
Will these humiliations never cease?
You see him wake up for the first time as, Octavius again.
They're gone.
And it was just so satisfying to see, not a real bookend of his character if they ever decide to revisit him. But I feel like if they never revisit him again, they capped him off very, very well.
Good way to cap it off with Alfred Molina's Doc Ock, I'd say.
Oh,
Him being redeemed and coming back to the light. Now he truly has the tools that he'd always longed for. Like what do his studies lead to now that he has achieved his goal? Maybe not the power of the sun in the palm of his hand, but now he's gone to that reality. He's seen the arc reactors. He's seen all that. Maybe there's something to him developing it in their reality, and so on and so forth. But could be very interesting with Doc Ock.
But 14 for me, Doc Ock.
All right. With that, we're on to lucky number 13. This is where I have Sam Wilson, Captain America. I had to have him pretty high, and I just couldn't elevate him any higher than this. This is where he belonged, and love me some Sam Wilson, man. Especially coming off the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. There are a few characters and few arcs and fewer conclusions as of now that make me happier than Sam Wilson's. He's that is Captain America. I think he's going to fulfill it every bit as good as Steve Rogers ever did. Potentially better.
A flying
Anthony
Captain
Mackie,
America.
super fucking cool. And the wings, the suit. Fuck, man.
Him coming through that window, seeing that that last episode. Not many people talk about it. We have the Loki and WandaVision finales lining up with the Nexus events, whatever. And whether the Falcon and Winter Soldier lines up, whatever it lines up with him talking to the world for the first time as Captain America, the world has seen the first Black Captain America. And I feel like that's just another beautiful Nexus moment that had to happen. I am so excited to see new Cap and where he goes. Cause that ending was one of the, my favorite ending of any of the TV shows.
Oh, me too. No doubt.
I think WandaVision,
the best finale for like zero doubts.
WandaVision's the second closest one. I think Loki, we were a little disappointed, just because we didn't know that season 2 was coming. We thought a lot more questions were going to be answered, stuff like that. But this ending was satisfying. It felt really good. And it was badass. He is Captain America now, and there's no question about it.
What about you, Senator? You got to do better. I loved that monologue, and what he did for Isaiah Bradley, presenting, getting that installation put into the Captain America exhibit,
taking him there,
fucking awesome.
Yeah, he took him there.
Man, that was so cool.
Man, what? God, that show is so good.
I love me some Sam Wilson, man. So he had to be up here. He had to be up
Man,
here.
I just realized I could, I had a lot of duos and stuff that I grouped people together. Man, it would have just been fitting for one trio to be Bucky, Steve, and Sam. Man, I don't know how I didn't think about that. But I think it's the recency thing, and I'm hypocritical of Uatu being up there. But I think Sam is definitely going to be a character who climbs super super high in the list. He is the new Captain America, so he's gonna be a part of the MCU for hopefully a long.
Where was he on your list?
He was 34.
Gotcha.
34.
Okay, cool.
He's definitely going to rise though, and it already feels too low. And maybe he switches out with Miles Morales there to fit the trio, but I don't know. Maybe Miles, that's kind of low for Miles to go all the way down there. So
you just got to commit now.
So, but yeah, that's very. I'm glad he's up there because he deserves it.
I had to be for
Definitely
me.
deserves
I
it.
just absolutely loved him after the Falcon and Winter Soldier, and I only look forward to whatever the fuck else we're going to be getting with him.
All right, my lucky number 13. I think he's pretty high up for you. And it's just I don't have enough of the character to really put him above any others. But this is where Clark Kent, this is where Superman is for me. And really the only Superman I have is Henry Cavill's with with the Justice League or Man of Steel, stuff like that. And of what I've gotten, what I've seen of him has been amazing. And I don't know, I think those movies are a little underrated. They're seen as, a little cheesier or whatever, but like, and they kind of are. That's what superhero movies are, whatever. But man,
and it's kind of what Superman has to be. There has to be a heart to Superman.
He is he's just the most OP superhero kind of that there is. There's only one thing in the universe that can kill him, and he has just every power that you could ever pretty much want. And you want all those moments. You want the moments where he's just cheesy or whatever. But I'm excited to deep dive into Superman more in DC, get into there. But I don't know. I feel like he's probably a little higher up for you than here.
Bit.
But
just a little bit. Be a little bit.
This is kind of, I would say, like a top 3, and like he should, I think it's pretty obvious that Batman and Spider-Man are gonna be up there, but Superman kind of fits in with that group, and I just don't have enough of him personally for me yet.
Gotcha.
But I'm excited to watch Superman and Lois. That's a show that's on my list to watch, for sure.
And it's really fascinating. You'll find it whenever you're watching Superman and Lois too. I imagine the best stuff in that show. It's not him facing off with the superpowered villain. It is absolutely the family drama aspect of that show, which is just like, that's what makes him relatable. It's like, he's got to have that. He's got to have his personal conflicts and relationships and raising his kids. That's what becomes human about him, and disappointing his parents or trying to make his parents proud. Like that's what makes him cool. And I'm looking forward to when I get to talk about some Superman here in a little bit. But yeah, it's a good 13. Good 13. With that, on to my 12. And this is where I round out the 6 OG Avengers with Natasha Romanoff, Black Widow.
Awesome.
And it was interesting crafting this list and finding that she is my favorite of the original 6 Avengers. I really do love Natasha Romanoff and what we saw in the MCU from Scarlett Johansson. Especially come that Black Widow movie. I think it's criminally hated, overhated, and it's a good movie. It's got a good story, and I understand some gripes with it. Certainly, for the budget it had, the visuals could have been better, et cetera, sure. But I think the story we got was pretty good. And I really, really loved that potentially being a cap on Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow. But yeah, I'll never forget getting introduced to Natasha Romanoff in Iron Man 2 and then seeing her in Avengers being an absolute badass, one of the only humans amongst, like, she doesn't even have the arrow thing, you know? She's just a badass hand-to-hand fighter. And that's really, really awesome. You know, it makes her amongst the coolest characters. And, you know, come Endgame, beginning of Endgame, she is the head of the council who is overseeing the development of the world again. It's pretty cool.
Her
and protection of the world.
And what say. If, you know, she's the one who is, well, I guess Peggy's the one who gets the arrow into there, but, you know, she's the one who shoots it up. Yeah, she's the one who brought the arrow into that universe, you know, like, and the one who found the way to defeat Ultron.
Yeah.
With Clint, you have the reverse of the sacrifice moment, you know, from
yeah, when he dives down and launches the arrow down at them. Fuck,
the reverse,
man, that
you
was
know,
such
like
a badass scene.
In that moment, like, I think, you know, everyone's always like, it should have been Clint, you know, in the sacrifice, it shouldn't have been Natasha, but we wouldn't have really cared if it was Clint. We would have been like, you know what, thankfully that happened. I think it would have been sad. We would have still cried. It is emotionally a classic Avenger that would have been dying. We would have cried no matter what. But
it's more heart-wrenching for Natasha to have died.
But her movie, super, super underrated. And I think just came out at a weird time, and all the you know, the virus, you know, having it not have a movie theater release and having it just come out on Disney Plus, you know, kind of diminished it for some people. A lot of people just, I don't think, haven't watched it still. You know, like, I think it's just a movie that is super underrated in the MCU, and her and Yelena are just so amazing, and the future of Yelena that we're going to get. I hope Natasha carries on through her. Definitely.
Yeah, and I mean, that sacrifice moment where she does give herself up so that Clint can go on and make his amends, you know, like, she's giving him that chance.
Sadly, it makes more sense for Natasha to go. She has no one left, you know, like, the only people she had, the only family she had is Yelena, which she didn't really have, you know, later on, but it was really the Avengers. That was her family. And she felt like she had to sacrifice, you know, she felt in that moment that it was her time, and just I don't know. I love that they went back and forth. You know, the whole back of catching each other and
fighting for it to sacrifice himself for the other. Yeah, that shit was. God, it was such a strong
thing I didn't realize had to happen when they were going to Vormir. They had no idea. They knew the stone was there. You know, they had no idea that a sacrifice would have to have been made. And, like, I didn't think about it whenever they were going there until, like, Red Skull made it apparent. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. One of them is not going to come back from this. And I'm like, fuck. And then Clint coming back and telling, you know, where's Natasha?
Him just dropping to his knees and being like,
and then Hulk.
And everyone coming to the realization, like, oh, fuck.
After Hulk snaps, he's like, I really tried to bring her back. I really did. And who knows, maybe there's something there. You know, maybe it's the widow that's in the other universe where they needed a widow, or they lost their widow in the what if. Maybe there is some,
maybe Tony gets it done. Maybe Tony went for a soul. I'll give you Thanos. Give me Natasha back. Maybe there's something there, you know. You know, a soul for a soul.
I guess Thanos is gone. Tony's gone too. Could be, you know.
Could be just him.
You know, like, who knows what really happened with that there. I don't know if she is done.
I'll be okay. I wish I could see some more of her, but I'll ultimately be all right. But yeah, I loved me some Natasha Romanoff, and if that was her end, noble as hell, you know.
Oh yeah,
and I love that for her.
All right, moving on to my number 12 is Matt Murdock, Daredevil. This is where he lies for me, and you know, not really Ben Affleck. You know, another not the one I'm thinking of necessarily, but you know, that movie. You know,
it's the best.
Yeah. I will say, Ben Affleck's movie, it was a movie that I watched repeatedly as a child. Just the opening scene, really.
Wake me up.
Yeah, exactly. But the Daredevil I'm talking about, that's Charlie Cox. That's that series that is now on Disney Plus with
King
everything
shit.
else. Oh my God, wow! And now that he is confirmed in the MCU, seeing him in No Way Home was just amazing. And it was really was awesome just in the theater. The people who knew, and then the people who were just like, why are all of you going crazy right now? You know,
Emily
like,
was so thankful that I'd been
Oh.
watching Daredevil. She was like, I'm so glad you've been watching Daredevil because I would have no idea who the fuck that was
exactly.
or why he could do any of the shit he did.
He's just a really good lawyer. And
what a fantastic way to be like, you know, we don't have to address the trial. We don't have to do any of that because you'll believe Matt Murdock got that job done. You don't need to see him do it. You know he did it. You know, like,
man.
Good news, Peter.
And
I got the charges dropped. Like, what? No, what?
Out of these, you know, Marvel live action shows, we're talking about WandaVision, Loki, Falcon, Winter Soldier.
Daredevil's top one.
There's one live action Marvel show that just stands above the rest. And I can watch that show over and over. Man, it is.
You've embarrassed me in front of Vanessa.
Oh man, he is Daredevil. Like, it's just so amazing.
Hello, Matt.
In that he's friends with Andrew Garfield and Robert Pattinson. You know, they've been friends forever.
Fantastic.
They live together, and now they're killing it. They're
Spider-Man, Daredevil, and Batman.
Are you kidding me?
Man, that's fucking awesome.
Man, and I can't wait to see what the MCU does.
And they all seem to have approached the role in a way that, you know, a lot of actors. I mean, they're some of the best castings in these roles I've ever seen. You know, like, I can't imagine anyone else as Daredevil. Robert Pattinson's now my favorite Batman, and personally, Andrew Garfield I think is the best at emblematically being Spider-Man. Like, he feels like Spider-Man the most to me, and like I think that's so awesome that all these dudes who came up together and are so passionate about the same thing all bring the same sort of feel to a
they manifested something. You know, they did it right. They I don't know. That's just so amazing. But yeah, number 12 for me,
Matt Murdock, Daredevil. What a strong addition here. What a strong addition here. He'll be coming a little later.
Figured.
Yeah, that's interesting. I thought he'd be coming a little later for you too. I was shocked to hear
these people. This is tough. Like, my top 10, it was like, I wanted him to be. He was in my top 10 initially, whenever I was just getting everything down. But then, like, the more that people, you know, just kept coming up, it was like, I don't know. I don't know if I can slip him in there. But he deserves it. You know, all these people that
as it stands of my top 10, you've said 4.
Same here. So
okay, cool, cool. That's a cool little end of. And my 11th would be a 5th. But
me too.
Yeah, perfect. Look at that. But so 11. This is where I have Miles Morales, Spider-Man.
Awesome.
Love me some Miles Morales, man. I wanted to put him top 10, but I couldn't quite eke him in there. There's just too much love I have for these characters that come above him, and but man, do I love me some Into the Spider-Verse. I know we talked about it, but we talked about that a lot. So I'm a pivot a little bit, and I'll go to the video game adaptation with Miles Morales. You know, I came off of Spider-Man PS4 going like, ain't no way they hit me with something quite like that with Miles Morales.
I was playing a video game?
Right. Like, that was quite the cinematic story there that they had going on there. And Miles Morales does almost every bit as good. I you know, there's something more with the Sinister Six thing coming to fruition and Spider-Man that's satisfying. But Miles Morales' story, man, is that a good one with his take on Prowler. And, you know, in that adaptation Into the Spider-Verse, you know, it's Prowler who dies, his dad who lives. In the video games, it's his dad who dies and Prowler who lives. So, and it kind of affects Prowler in a way where he goes from this villain to this, you know, like, okay, I'll get behind you a little bit more, you know, like I can get behind that. And I think that's really cool. I think there's something about Miles that inspires in a way that, you know, I think Peter Parker certainly does. But as it concerns his neighborhood and the way he relates to the people who are a part of his home, like Harlem, like, man, he when it came to that video game, it made me feel like, oh yeah, Spider-Man's supposed to be black. Like, that's how it made me feel when I played that video game, you know, and I was like, that was such a great story. And, you know, I wanted him to be top 10. I couldn't quite eke it, but Miles Morales, man,
Oh, yeah.
what a fucking awesome character.
Even though he is Spider-Man, you know, and we know a whole lot about him, he is so his own character. Like he's so unique, and like his graffiti, you know, his art style, like all it is suits, you know, everything. I just
so cool.
I can't wait to get him in live action here.
Oh, and I love that it's a leap of faith.
Oh,
you know,
what up, Danger? Or what's up? Yeah,
like what's up, Danger?
Come on, man, that soundtrack. Oh, didn't even talk about that whenever I was mentioning.
And when he's holding Peter over the multi-dimensional rift, and he's like, how do I know I can do it? He looks at him, he's like, right, it's a leap of faith.
Good,
he
kid.
Lets go. Like, fuck, I love that scene, man.
He's like, wow, good job, kid. You know,
you did it. You could do it on command.
That
was a real cute moment, guys. We got a lot of stuff going on though. Like, God, the ending of that movie is so strong. I love, and the whole movie is too. But yeah, Miles Morales, what a fantastic character. And you know, I feel like I'm going to watch Into the Spider-Verse tonight now that we've talked about it so much. But yeah, that's I had to have him up here. He had to be, and he happened to eke out at 11. But
well, my 11, already mentioned him, but this is where I have my Thor. And you know, he's Thor: Dark World is seen as one of the worst Marvel movies there is. I don't understand it. Whenever I watched the Thor movies growing up, they were always some of my favorites. I think Iron Man was my number one movies that I latched onto the most, but Thor was my second. He was my next guy. I loved Asgard. It was beautiful, a new take, you know, not on Earth. It was just so cool. And Mjolnir was amazing, and him losing Mjolnir like right away. And him eventually redeeming himself, coming back to it. I think Thor is, you know, he started off as this brute, you know, Asgardian. You know, he's very, very kind of annoying at first, even. But seeing what he turns into, and you know how they got a little more into the comedic role with him. Chris Hemsworth, I think, just he does super well for the role. Making him fat, you know, in Endgame or whatever was super interesting to see. But you know, him making Stormbreaker, him holding open Nidavellir, in order for that to happen, Groot, you know, finalizing it.
You will take the entire power of a star.
That is what dying means, or whatever. I love Thor, and he's fitting in with the Guardians crew so well, and I don't know, loving the Guardians, love Thor, and now that they're together, is amazing. And Thor: Love and Thunder coming up, getting Natalie Portman back in there, with hopefully she just becomes the new Thor. Gonna be so cool. But Thor couldn't quite make my top 10, but he was right there. He was the closest one to making it. So yeah, my number 11 was Thor.
All right, cool. So this brings us to the top 10.
Here we go.
And what that means is that I believe you have one Avenger remaining. I've eliminated my Avengers, my original Avengers. I have 4 that you have already said. You have 4 that I have already said, which leaves me with the impression that the other 6 are the same. And there's no way that I don't think there's any way that there's differentiation between those 6, which is really interesting. It's just a matter of where they fall. Like it's because those are the 6. Like there are 6 characters left that I know they have to be on your list. If you haven't said them, they have to be there. So I'm real excited to kick it off. Here, let's get into the top 10. And I'm kicking it off with one you have already said. I had to have him in the top 10, Magneto. Love me some Magneto, man. He had to break the top 10. As far as reading comics, looking at the pages, seeing them, no character on page has satisfied me in terms of variances in art style, variances in stories, variances in just the way that things unfold. Magneto is as cool as it gets on the superhero villain side. And, you know, being something of an anti-hero, I mean, like, he can be. He's more a villain, but he has been an anti-hero. I love what he's about. You know, I love that he's there to protect his kind. And, you know, it's stemming from their from the Holocaust and him having been a Holocaust survivor and being like, you know, he won't let that happen again. He won't let anyone put the needle to his skin again. He has to prevent that. I think that's such an awesome idea for the character. So powerful. And, you know, in First Class when he's going and murdering Nazis and seeing Ian McKellen as Magneto. I don't think there is a villain who I hold in higher regard personally. That's might be my favorite comic book villain, and judging by the rest of my list, he is the highest comic book villain I have. So that's it's real cool.
I guess that's fitting.
I had to kick it off with Magneto.
I do have a villain as my 10, but there is one more villain in my list that's up there. Quite
had to
think could figure that one out. But the villain does top off or start my top 10 is the Joker. This is where the Joker lies for me, and it's Heath Ledger, it's Mark Hamill, it's I mean it doesn't get much better than that for me. It's
Cesar Romero, it's Jared Leto, it's Barry Keoghan,
and
it's Jack Nicholson.
If I'm honest with myself, you know, if I'm honest, he is probably my favorite villain that there is. It's just that the other one is so up my alley,
personal to you,
and I can't. And you know, knowing that he's coming for sure, I know everything that's coming with him. I've already seen the future with him coming. But
you are the all-knowing after all.
But all that aside, the Joker. I don't know of another performance that really impacted me as, you know, young, you know, through my childhood that Heath Ledger's Joker had. Just seeing, I mean, just how iconic it immediately was, and I don't know how many times I've watched The Dark Knight. And
you want to know how I got these scars?
And just, I mean, devastating to what happened to Heath Ledger and what the role kind of did to him. But I'm so glad that we got it. One of the best just villain performances of all time, in my opinion. You know, we do have some Joker coming. We had a deleted scene even with them, and I can't wait to see what we get with a new Joker. But of what we've gotten, he's already in my top 10. So I mean, I don't think he can climb anymore.
Yeah, you feel like he's kind of a staple of that 10 spot.
And he was one that was going in and out of the top 10, but I had to put him in there just for how much he's I don't know, my childhood and Mark Hamill. I think Mark Hamill's probably my favorite Joker. He's the voice I hear. If it's not Heath Ledger immediately, you know, I love Mark Hamill's portrayal as the Joker and how twisted he gets in the voice room, you know, while he's recording and everything. He gets so into the character. But those two are,
he's fantastic.
The Arkham games, don't know why they killed him off so early. They knew they fucked up. They had to bring him back. They had to go to Arkham Origins to bring him back and everything, which, you know, they realized they fucked up getting rid of Mark Hamill that early.
Hey, but I love it whenever Batman's seeing him in his head. You know, like that's an awesome twist on that in the Arkham games.
But that's the crack of my top 10. The Joker.
All right, I love that. You know, it's a great way to kick it off for both of us. An X-Men and a Batman villain, pretty defining. You know, Magneto and the Joker. That's typically the big ones for them. But with that, on to my 9, and I have another in which you have already said. This is where I have Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel. She broke the top 10 for me.
That's awesome. That's good.
I think she's an absolute badass. You know, I love Brie Larson in the role. Like, I genuinely, like, I remember, like, engaging with that movie for the first time and the general reception of it, and being genuinely shocked that people were like, "Oh, I fucking hate Brie Larson." I was like, "What? How? This is awesome!" I still can't fully wrap my mind around it. You know, I think she's absolutely awesome in that role. I love her in Endgame, the brief scene she has, but she's awesome in that. And I mean, that Captain Marvel movie, man, it's emerging as one of the most rewatchable Marvel movies for me. I absolutely love it. As a sci-fi movie is concerned, that's as fun a sci-fi superhero movie as you're gonna get.
That's just the start of her. You know, that's her first movie, man. And
I love that movie, man. And whenever, you know, she has her rise to power there at the end when she's facing with the supreme intelligence, and she's hearing all the shit over the years, kind of paralleling Monica Rambeau's eventual rise, where she's hearing all these things. You know, you got to glow like your Aunt Carol, you know, but you know, she's hearing like, why do you think they call it a cockpit, honey? Like she's hearing all that shit she's heard over the years, and she's just this overcoming of the patriarchy that she does in that moment, where she's like, all this time that I've been held down, I'm not gonna let it happen anymore. And I think it's just such a powerful sentiment. And I love Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel. She had to be up here.
Power ranking wise, you know, strongest people that there are that we have.
Bring in the
Wanda.
nukes. What about Carol? She'll be fine.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Don't worry about her. She can literally like blow up a planet if need be, like easily. Which is like kind of crazy, crazy, like to hear her like power level, like on a level. You know, everyone's like, people like to think Thor, you know, is people like to put Thor up super high for some reason. But like really the top three, it's Wanda, Doctor Strange, and Captain Marvel. Like there's
as far as the MCU is concerned, yeah.
And we're just beginning with her. I love that she's the constant reminder that Earth is not the only place where these things are happening, that it's galaxy universally wide. And I love that she's the reminder for that. And you know, some people think that's annoying that she's like, that she just went off and we don't know what she's doing, but like it's coming in the future.
Much sense, though.
Like it's coming in the future, you know, like, they're just planting the seeds now. And people are like, well, why wasn't she on Earth helping out? But like, that's the point. There's so much else happening. So many places. And Earth is fine. They have their heroes and everything. And she came in, when
from a writing perspective, it's a lot easier to just be like, yeah, she had to do other shit. It's one less character we have to worry about. It's an excuse that makes sense. It's not like it's out of character for her to be off planet helping other planets. It's what she's been doing for 25 fucking years. Like
something to censor the upper atmosphere. Friday, what are they firing at? You know, like in that moment, you know, having that moment whenever she comes in.
What are they all looking at? Like her flying through the Kree starships at the end of Captain Marvel and doing the like punching her fist, and like
I mean,
we'll come back.
I remember during Endgame, I was like, yo, I get how they're going to take out all these enemies and stuff, but like that ship, how are they going to, like, what are they going to do? I'm like, this thing, like, they're about to rain fire or whatever. I'm like, damn, this is it. Like, okay. Like, I don't know who can take that out, you know, maybe Wanda, maybe Doctor Strange, but they're busy doing what they're doing, you know, and then Captain Marvel coming in, saving the day, was
Deus Ex Machina.
But oh yeah, just the beginning of her. Hopefully we have a lot more to come with Captain Marvel in the future. And definitely I like that she's up there for you. She definitely deserves it.
Had to be a top 10 pick for me, man.
My number 9 could be a low. I'd imagine he's probably higher up for you. I don't know. I'm interested. But this is where Logan, where Wolverine comes for me. And I think it's just I watched, you know, the Wolverine movies and everything like that when I was young, but I didn't really latch onto them as much as I did like a Spider-Man or like a Batman. But I mean, he's in my top 10. You know, he's definitely there. He deserves to be in this company. And Logan, one of the best superhero movies that there is, one of the most emotionally resonant movies that we have to pick from. And I'm just so glad that we're living through this era of movies, and that we have movies like this. And Hugh Jackman, I mean, there's no one else that comes into my mind whenever I'm thinking of Wolverine. He's the first, the sideburns, the hair, everything about him. He is Wolverine.
Fuck off.
Yeah, he is Wolverine. And I don't know.
Man, Logan is just such a good movie, man. Like that, there was discussion recently of like the best character openings for a superhero movie, with the Batman being introduced the way he was in the Batman and, like first appearances basically. And people like, I was like, Logan, first time he unsheaths and goes crazy in Logan, that's strong, under the light of that neon sign on the side of the road when they're not the car. They think they kill him, but yeah, a little harder to kill Logan than you think.
He's pretty unkillable. Until he's not. Oh fuck, man, what a movie, man.
Oh, fantastic movie.
We're gonna say it a lot, as we get up here, but like movies that we just have to revisit. We've said it for a lot of these characters already, but man, that movie is something. And
yes, he'll be a few spots up for me.
I figured. Could
it's an all-timer for me.
Yeah. But yeah, that's where he lies for me is number 9. And that's, yeah, I don't know. It could be rising, as I'm getting more into the X-Men and stuff. But I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how they bring him in the MCU. Whenever Wolverine's character does come into play. Is it gonna be Hugh Jackman? I kind of hope not. I think
it won't.
A lot of people hope that it is just because that's who they see as Wolverine. But I hope they go.
I think Logan was a perfect send off with him. I think.
Yeah. No,
I think it'll be okay. I don't doubt he might make a multiversal cameo. That's a possibility. But it won't be a big moment. I mean, it'll be a big moment, but it won't be a big part of the movie. It'll just be a thing that happens.
And maybe it's just him in a bar, saying "fuck off" again or something. Maybe
But what would be even crazier, and I wouldn't really complain about, is if he had like a Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield Spider-Man role in like one of these movies, where like he showed up and was like, "Yeah, all right." And then he was like a part of, like, that'd be dope. I wouldn't have any complaints, but he'd need to be sent away after that. Give him another send off where he's at least now we can go, okay. So it can be from a time before he was on the edge of death, like it could just be like something that happened to him along the timeline. But I don't think it will happen. I think it'll be just a normal cameo, pop in, pop out, see ya, hi, bye. But yeah, I look forward to whatever the fuck the MCU has in mind for his ass, because he's a badass. I do have him a bit higher.
I figured so.
But yeah, with that, on to my number 8, and this is where we get Vision. I had to have Vision in the top 10. I've long regarded him as such. Since WandaVision, I've been going, yeah, he's a top 10 superhero for me. He's a top 10 superhero for me. And like, I was like, all right, well, this is the test. Is he actually a top 10 superhero for me? And he absolutely is. I've said at points top 5. I don't know if I stand by that. He barely falls outside the top 5 Marvel, even. Not quite top 5 Marvel characters, but he's 6. He's 6. He's right there. And, I love me some Vision. And Paul Bettany was such an awesome actor in that role. I look forward to whatever the fuck White Vision's got in store for us. And as far as like comic book designs, that green and yellow suit with his red face, dude, I fucking love that character design. There are a few that really hit like that for me. And his and Wanda's history, and it culminating in a TV series. Never would have thought we'd get a WandaVision show. And to get that, like, it doesn't get more comic booky for me at the moment than WandaVision was. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was, wow, we got Wanda Maximoff and Vision as the main characters in something. Like, that was the start of, like, me going, yeah, we're getting into the deep cuts now. We're getting into the real shit. And man, what a good way to kick it off with Wanda and Vision. Wanda, welcome home.
I think, I don't know if it'll surprise you where he is on mine, but coming up a little bit later.
Yeah, I actually thought he'd come before my ranking of him for you. So I'm pleasantly surprised with this. You know, I'm happy with
if I'm forming a team, if I'm picking anyone out of the MCU,
Vision's got to be
he's on my team. And he's not. I mean, I won't. I guess I'll save it for whenever he comes up.
Hold the fuck up. But, that's crazy. You know, like if I was gonna build a 6. Nah, these probably wouldn't be the 6 members of the Avengers that I would choose. But, you know, I mean, 5 of them maybe. You know, like I got plenty going on here.
I guess
that
1,
could
2,
be
3, 4, 5. Out of my top 10, people who are in the MCU, excluding Wolverine, I guess, you know.
Yeah.
I have 5 in my top 10 that are MCU heroes. And I think that they're my team.
They'd make a pretty kick-ass Avengers. Like as of right now, that would consist of Captain Marvel and Vision. But the next couple that I list, you'll be like, oh yeah, that would be a strong Avengers squad. Oh yeah, we'll have the same.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have the same ones. That's pretty awesome. It would make a pretty kick-ass. Marvel Marvel team up there. But I mean, besides Captain Marvel. But
and I don't know if this will surprise you, but my number 8. This is where I have Tony, where I have Iron Man. And he was jumping around in the 9, 8, 10. The Iron Man, Wolverine, and Joker were kind of they were moving around, but from 6 up was like they're 6 up. They're like no one can kind of go above him. And it kind of pained me a little bit to put Tony, you know, down this low. And I low in air quotes. He is number 8 in my top 100. But he was the guy who I latched onto from Marvel. He started it off. He kicked it off. And I love the real world aspect of Robert Downey Jr., a guy who was, you know, not doing too well, and Jon Favreau took a chance on him, and man, did it pay off. I think there's no one else you picture in your mind when you're thinking of Iron Man. He's the face you see.
Oh, that's that man right there.
He's Iron Man in real life. He's really taken it changed his life around. And he, I don't know, he's doing some Iron Man stuff in real life, which I think is really cool. And obviously the snap, you know, one of the biggest moments in Marvel history that there is. I am Iron Man. You know, maybe a little overused line that they have, but it was so fitting in the snap.
It occurs a couple times, you know, and I think its occurrence at the end of Iron Man 3 is the one where it's like, you know, it was like just in case we don't find a place to use this again later, we'll have this parallel.
And it's, you know, you have him and Cap. You know, Cap, he doesn't say he's Captain America, he's Steve Rogers. And Tony doesn't say he's Tony Stark, he is Iron Man. Because he feels that he does more for the world and more for everyone as Iron Man, rather than Tony. And I like the parallel there with Steve and Tony, and how they you know, flip it a little bit. It just makes sense.
I'm Steve Rogers.
It just makes sense for their characters. And Tony, you know, he's, I don't know, I guess out of the Avengers, the classic Avengers, he's the top for me. Yes. Yeah, he's number 1 out of the classic Avengers for me. So I love me some Tony, love me Iron Man. I've always been part of him. But, you know, he's a tinkerer. And that's a Brainiac, and I latch onto those characters. Tinkerer. Oh yeah, I think Iron Man 3 is a little underrated. I recently rewatched it.
Yeah,
and
wow, it might be the most underrated MCU movie.
It's I don't know. I don't know. I've always like Iron Man 1 is whatever I come to as like that's the movie, but like
Iron Man 3 is I think a better movie.
Yeah. I loved it on rewatch, and I don't know. hope he's done. You know, I mean, they've had, it was the send off, you know, him and Cap of there. And if they do
Right.
cameo and whatever, I don't know. I just kind of hope they're done. But if we see Robert Downey come back, and whether he is the Iron Man in the Illuminati, I don't know. Well, whether it is Tom Cruise, whatever, who knows? Who knows what it's going to be? But yeah, Tony, he sneaks in my number 8.
All right. Perfect. All right, so that brings us to 7. And this is where I have T'Challa, Black Panther. I love me some T'Challa, man. And it was hard placing anyone above him. But I think I feel all right about it. And you said it was like your top 6 or for sure. Like these, I extended one. This is definitely my top 7. You know, like he had to be. He's a fixed point there. He's definitely within that realm. And man, I love that character, and I love Chadwick Boseman. And I really, really enjoyed T'Challa Star-Lord in What If. That was such a strong that was a strong episode. But man, in Black Panther, I talked about how Captain Marvel might be my most rewatchable MCU movie, but I think, or solo movie anyway. I think Black Panther might be my favorite as far as the MCU solo movies are concerned. I think there's just so much to like there in that story, and it's just such a big story, man. And T'Challa is a hero. You know, like you feel like he is a hero's hero in that role, and I absolutely love it. So I had to get T'Challa some love here.
One of the most impactful Marvel movies that there ever has been. Just world impact. I mean, I remember when it was out in theaters, and just how everyone just immediately loved the movie, and how it was like almost immediately regarded as like, wow, this, like, whoa. I don't know, like the kicked off I don't know, put Marvel in a new league almost. Like this, like
there were like Oscar talks surrounding Black Panther, and
that's crazy. Yeah, big deal. That is nuts. Like seeing him in Civil War, you know, you're like, okay, this guy's cool. You know, like dope suit. Like I want to know more about this guy. And out of his movie, it's insane how much story they packed into that one movie.
Crazy.
And the soundtrack, you know, another soundtrack that was so amazing. Listened to it before the movie came out and immediately loved it. And I don't know, that movie was so hype, and it'll be a theater experience I'll never forget.
It was nominated for Best Motion Picture of the Year at the Oscars.
Wow.
An extremely impactful movie, you know. It was dude, I just loved T'Challa, you know, and whatever they decide to do with the character in the future, I'm interested to see. But I think I've officially come to the mind that I'm okay with them recasting it, as it's something that Chadwick Boseman had explicitly said, you know, I think it's good for these characters to not be one person's. You know, like these characters need to be shared. You know, they need to be universal. You know, they need to appeal to many. So there's no reason for any one person to permanently have the title of a role. You know, and so I look forward to whatever they do with T'Challa in the future, and really, really love him in Black Panther. So had to get him in there. Had to get him in here.
My number 7. This is where my Doctor Strange lies. And he's kind of the last out of, you know, the 6 that I said are locked. He was the one that was Iron Man, Wolverine, Joker. They were the bottom 3 in my top 10, but Doctor Strange was kind of settled in there. I knew he wasn't in the top 6 necessarily, but he didn't crawl down to the bottom 3 of the top 10. But Doctor Strange, he's growing on me like fine wine. Every time I rewatch his movie, it's slowly becoming one of my favorite solo movies that there is. And I mean, coming up next is the only other solo movie that kind of ekes it out for me. Who's coming up, but Doctor Strange, he I don't know, he's very crucial now with the MCU, and he's has a lot of explaining to do. a whole lot of stuff is going to have to happen through him. And but man, his movie, just seeing him try absolutely everything, and he's another one who was down bad. He had everything at one point.
It's true.
He had absolutely everything, and he always thought of himself as the smartest in the room. Another kind of arrogant person that you eventually see, not fully, like he still is arrogant. That's for sure.
He has a heart, though.
But yeah, he's come around, and he's definitely a lot better than who he was as a doctor. And who knows, like there's so much mystery surrounding this character. They can go so many different directions. And whether the one possibility, whenever he tells Tony to do that, whether that's, if there's anything more there, I truly, I'm of the camp, I'm not thinking of that anymore. But I remember I used to theorize about that all the time. Like, oh no,
I mean, it's a fair one, cause he is a little bit of an asshole. So it's like, who knows? I just don't think he has any interest in being the leader of the Avengers. So like, there wouldn't be a reason to, unless he thought it was purely for the greater good, which would be really interesting. But
man, yeah, I'm excited to see whatever they do with the future. And what if, we got that introduction to the other side of Doctor Strange that's coming up in Multiverse of Madness. So it's going to be super interesting to see what happens to his character and how crucial he'll be moving forward after this movie. I'm curious if maybe he steps down a little bit. He's becoming the Sorcerer Supreme, I'd assume, in this movie. I don't know.
I'm concerned
but
for Wong's health.
Ooh, I did not even think about that. Oh no.
Yeah, I think that's sort of what we could potentially be looking at in the next film, is a potential Wong death, which would lead, which would be like, how do we make this hit even harder? Well, we make him a bigger part of the other movies, him popping up in Shang-Chi and him popping up in No Way Home, him becoming more important and then yanking the rug out from underneath us. I think it's a potentiality. I don't want it. I don't invite it.
I guess
I could see its effectiveness in storytelling.
When you become the Sorcerer Supreme, the only way you stop becoming the Sorcerer Supreme is probably your death. And who knows, he is this temporary, like sort of thing. Like he got it off a technicality, whatever.
I blipped.
Yeah.
So.
Fair. And, but it'll be interesting to see if, oh no, they're definitely going to have like a scene of like maybe paralleling the Ancient One, whenever she's dying, talking to Doctor Strange, like passing on the mantle. I bet like maybe all three of them will be there or something like that. It's the Ancient One, Wong, and Doctor Strange or something. Like maybe they'll have like maybe Wong will be like
a little Force Ghost
like
moment.
He knows that he's going, like everything stops right here for him, or oh no. But oh yeah, that's my number 7. That's where Doctor Strange lies for me.
All right. I really dig that. Yeah, Benedict Cumberbatch is just such a great actor, man. I love me some Benedict Cucumber. But with that, on to my 6. This is where I have Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch. I really, really love me some Wanda. Not enough to break the top 5 here. The top 5 were the top 5. There was no doubt. But she was right outside of it. She's quickly become one of my favorite MCU characters. If not, if not my favorite MCU character, because I wouldn't say my other MCU character, my love is strictly based off the MCU. But Wanda, that's what it is based off of. It is entirely MCU. Like, I've since gone back and read comics about involving Wanda and grown to appreciate her even more. But it was off the back of WandaVision and Age of Ultron and Infinity War and Endgame that I went, and Civil War, that I was just like, okay, yeah, I love this character. And therein, I think it might make this the most impressive placement on the list here, is that she's here only because of the MCU. A lot of these other ones, they are either hindered by the MCU and it's because of other things, or they didn't rise to these heights because of the MCU. But Wanda, like it's been that well written with Wanda so far.
Hopefully they realize the character they have. I mean, obviously she's going to be huge, moving forward. So I'm super excited to see. I did not expect that Wanda would be higher on my list, rather than yours, but that is, I mean,
I went kind of for my top 5. I went kind of nostalgic classic with it,
makes
as
sense.
opposed to and I'd say, like, as far as on-screen adaptations are concerned, she might be the most well-written character on the rest of my list. Now we'll see with a couple of them, and there are a few that might overlap that, but we'll see. We'll get that. We'll get there. But Wanda Maximoff had to be up here. I love her very, 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 very much, and Elizabeth Olsen absolutely rocks.
My number 6 was the first one set in stone, pretty much. This is where T'Challa, where Black Panther is for me. And if I'm forming a team, he's on there. And I think obviously his movie is good enough, but I think his What If episode is the most what if there is, without like the finale, the last 2 episodes. I kind of hold those separately. But his episode is kind of the most, like, you see Thanos, on the good side fighting for them. Yeah. You see, like, him just going around the galaxy, like, doing all these amazing things, like, things that you would never think to see in Marvel, that just, there's so many lines in that episode that have so much history behind every single line that's, like, said. And I think it truly, like, encapsulates what If is, like, all about in that episode. And, just to get any more of Black Panther, I'm down with. But we've already talked about the movie, and we've already, given T'Challa his reign. He's,
the winner of our Marvel character tournament. He came out on top there.
Oh, and man, yeah, that movie, that's a theater experience I'll never forget. And but he's the first to crack that 6, what I feel are like the crucial characters of this top 10 for me. So.
Oh yeah, that started with him too for me at my 7. Like I was like, yeah, these are the separation between 7 and 8 there was a gap there, and then these 7 and 6 are right here, and then you elevate it a little bit more, and then it's the top 5. But there was a gap between 8 and 7. You know what I'm saying? Like Black Panther elevates it, and then Wanda right along with him for me. Like they're not too separated. But man, I really do love me some T'Challa, man. He was such a fucking cool character.
Oh yeah, it's this is where I'm interested to see what this is the top 5. This is where it gets. I don't know. This is a pretty big milestone here, and.
Yeah, and I think we only have 2 in common here, which is cool.
The top 2, I believe.
Yeah, and I think I could assume from context clues the others for you, but we'll see. We'll see. Starting at my 5. This is where I've got Matt Murdock, Daredevil. He broke the top 5 for me.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Off the back of watching the Daredevil series this year and then diving really deep into Daredevil comics. Like I read a lot of Daredevil comics very recently. And oh man, like he's up there on those levels of just like what a good guy. Like he's conflicted. Yeah. He has times where he could cross a line, but he always pulls back. I think there's this hopefulness about Matt Murdock and Daredevil, and that's kind of what you'll find with my top 5, is that my perception of them is something that lends me to believe in hopefulness. Like they all bring out the most in like that could they inspired me in some capacity. what they overcome, what they have to do, and this is one of them.
Matt Murdock,
You know,
the rule of, the no kill rule, basically, not crossing that line. I think they do it better than Batman. Matt Murdock. I think it's
in that show, yeah, about as good as anything, as far as towing the line and not never crossing it.
And the fact that he's like
there's not even the Christian Bale "I'm gonna let you die" thing going on. Like it's like,
and he's like within the legal
no.
system too, so it's like that constant back and forth of the vigilantism, along with the no kill, and I think it's a more interesting dynamic instead of just being, I'm Batman, I'm not going to kill anybody, or right. I don't know. I think there's more to it with Matt Murdock, and I think I like that aspect more. But I'm glad that he's in a top 5 though. I'm glad that.
Oh
that
man, and this is one that, this is off the back of recent stuff. He probably wasn't a top 10 character. As recent as our Marvel character tournament, just a few months back, he lost in the first round. I certainly would not have let that happen had I become more familiar with the character. And I'd be afraid this is recency bias, but it's been 4 months now since all that, really, 3 months anyway.
It is truly that good.
Since I watched Daredevil and since I did all that reading, I feel like I've cooled, my head's cooled a bit on Daredevil. I've moved on to other things and have grown more attachments since then. And I'm confident this man's 5. Matt Murdock is the shit, and Charlie Cox's Matt Murdock is even better. So.
Well, your 5, you said, bring out the hope, bring out the best in people. I have quite the opposite here for my number 5. This is where my boy comes. This is where Ultron is.
I have no strings on
and
me.
You know how much I love Ultron. He is the villain that I love the most, and I think it's just the concept of him and his, especially What If, elevated him to a level that I didn't think we would ever get again in the MCU. I loved him enough just from Age of Ultron. It's one of my favorite Avengers movies that there is. Even with Endgame and Infinity War, I love Age of Ultron, and it's just the question. It's the whole conversation of AI and letting it go too far. It was truly good intentions that they started out with. I see a shield across, protecting the world, all that, and just seeing what Ultron turns into, especially in What If. I think this is a very well crafted villain, and he's evil just for evil's sake. He's a robot, so you don't really have to really think too hard about it. He's killing to kill, because that is what he sees as the solution. And he arrived there almost immediately from looking at back in human history and stuff. And
destroy the Avengers. Yeah, all right, I can do that.
And basically, the What If episode was a wet dream for me. I didn't stop smiling or laughing hysterically, once he started going off. I was in for the ride. It's the What If episode I watch the most. I come back to it quite often. But
I remember as it was happening, as I was watching, I was like, Joseph is just having the fucking time of his life right now.
Mm-hmm. And I was, and there is, I still, I don't know. I'm a firm believer he's coming back. He's not done.
I think his appearance in What If lends that even more credence. That, and he's AI. How gone can he be? There's something out there with him. He's downloaded somewhere.
If he's in one other universe and he breaks into the multiverse, he can be in any universe there is. So, I think he's coming up to be the next big bad, maybe a middle big bad to get this multiverse start kicking off. I think it'll be kind of a swift end, though. I don't think he'll be a super slow burn like Thanos or anything like that. I think he'll pop up and then get defeated.
The return of Ultron.
But I love me some Ultron, and can't wait to see him in live action. But if it doesn't happen, I will be okay. I got my what if episode. So
What If was fantastic, man. What a great way to cap off that character, if it is the end. It was fantastic. And I you saw that coming, you know. Ultron certainly I thought he might just make your top 5 out of spite. Like yeah, that's my 5. There's no doubt about that. But yeah, James Spader voicing that character, Ultron. Super great voice acting. Just a fantastic villain voice. You know, like I think that he nails that. And man, that's a strong MCU villain, you know. I think Age of Ultron gets too much hate. I think it's fuck Joss Whedon, but I don't think he's made a better superhero movie. That was as good as it gets for him. And yeah, Age of Ultron was strong, you know, and the Ultron's
had to have my top
great
5.
Character.
You know, truthfully, is he above Black Panther? Probably not. But is he above Doctor Strange? Probably not.
Man,
but,
this is really cool. So that means that you've got a couple.
I do.
Which is in your top 4. That's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
I love that. All right. But yeah, with that, on to my 4. This is where I have Logan Wolverine. This is one who has been important to me for all my life. Love this character to death. You know, I've read more Wolverine, read more X-Men, and therein Wolverine. Watched Logan, I don't know how many times. Grew up with a love for those X-Men movies, and he was my favorite character. Man, I love me some Logan, and I just he's one it's weird, you know, when I put my top 5 in that context a second ago about the ones who like give me hope and inspire me in some way. It's kind of a back and forth deal with Wolverine. Obviously, he has some adaptations where he's not the most hopeful, and that's important though. Like he has to start that way, and always by the end he finds what he's fighting for, you know. And it's discovering that and him committing to that and protecting. He's a protector, man, and I love that with Wolverine. And you know, there's an audio drama actually that I listened to recently with Wolverine called there was The Long Night and the Lost Trail. And man, if you're ever interested in trying an audio drama, those Wolverine ones are fucking awesome. They're on Apple Podcasts. They're on Spotify, I'm assuming. Like, I think it starts with The Long Night, and then The Lost Trail is the second one. Man, it's just so intense and such good storytelling that, like, I don't need visuals. You know, I'm hearing it all, and I feel the visceralness of his claws coming out and him slicing dudes up. I don't need to see it, you know, like I get what's happening here. And that's kind of important for me too, is this berserker, rageful Wolverine who doesn't hold back. Like, it's really interesting because I usually don't like that in a character, you know, at least. Like when it comes to like Batman, I don't want him to be a berserker who's killing people. When it comes to Wolverine, that's what Wolverine does. You know, like you know,
true.
He
very well.
He's really good at what he does.
Does it very well.
What he does ain't pretty. That's his thing, you know. He's like, yeah, I'm really good at this, and I hate that I'm good at it. It sucks, but man, can I do it well?
It's the position he was put into, and.
Man, yeah, I love me some Wolverine and Logan, and he just had to be here. And Logan is probably, you know, I think of my top 3 superhero movies, period, and none of them are MCU. And Logan has to be there, I think. Into the Spider-Verse is another, and I'll get to the last one later. But, yeah, man, Logan is such a fantastic character. Always rooted for him in the Jean conflict. I understand why he probably shouldn't, why she shouldn't.
Yeah.
But man, if I don't want it for him, just so we can be happy once, that'd be nice. But yeah, He's just got this devastating sadness to him because he's immortal and he can't die, and like his acknowledgement of it, living with it, and trying to push forward. It's really cool. So I that's why I got to have Logan up there.
So awesome. Yeah, my number 4. There's only 2 left that are, I guess, not the top 2, here. But this is the start of the couple. They had to be paired together. But Wanda comes first.
Now Vision's top 3. That's huge. I did not see that.
He is. Yeah. So I guess there you go. There's my 4 and 3. I'll speak them together because that's the reason they are up here, is them together. They strengthen each other's characters so much. And the reason I do have Vision above Wanda, it would be fitting if I went Ultron Vision Wanda. It just is more poetic, I guess. But I mean, Vision, if Ultron's up my alley, he's the villain. You have the good version of Ultron, which is Vision, and it's one of I think one of the most like perfectly crafted characters there is in the MCU. And every time he's on screen, there's not a single scene that I hate or that I dislike of Vision. There's not one line that
Vision
he says.
Is always hitting. Always,
and it makes sense. He's a computer that slowly becomes more and more human over time. And I can't think of a more beautiful way to portray AI or technology or whatever. Like Iron Man, the reason I love Tony so much is the tinkering and all the technology that he has. And Vision is the ultimate, the vision of Tony Stark. It's the everything that Tony would want to be able to do. I mean, he has the Mind Stone in his head. He has that going for him, but even without it, he still is Vision. And with White there's more coming along for him with White Vision, and who knows to see if our classic Vision comes back in any way, shape, or form. But I mean, I guess his memories are, they're in him now. So it lives on through him. And but Wanda, I mean, just the reason they're together, I couldn't have them apart. I love Wanda. WandaVision, if not the Falcon and Winter Soldier, WandaVision was one of the most entertaining TV shows I've watched at the time. One of the most fun shows to cover. And it was so unique, so different. And I just love that Vision was a part of that. And it strength, like I already knew that I would love the Vision aspect of the show because I loved Vision already. But that show strengthened Wanda so much for me. And I don't know, them two are they're my favorite. They're my favorite pair in the MCU. There's no other 2 people that I think I could put together. Maybe Pepper and Tony. I don't know, but I don't think anyone really comes close to the relationship that Vision and Wanda have.
Yeah, that's the best comic book pairing there is. I mentioned how Harley and Ivy were my second, and it's definitely Wanda and Vision that are top 1. That's the best comic book pairing there is. I absolutely love them. And I'm glad they broke your top 5. I'm genuinely shocked that they were your 3 and 4, but I'm so happy with that. That makes me very joyful.
I mean, and that strictly MCU too. That they are like, that is it. That's all I know them from. And they couldn't crack the 1 and 2. I mean,
it's hard to crack the 1 and 2 here, buddy.
But,
especially given just who we are in general, it makes sense. But with that, I'll go to my 3 since you got your 4 and 3 in there. This is where I have Clark Kent Superman. Absolutely love this guy. I don't, and as far as I don't need to justify the whole hopeful thing a lot with this one. This is the one that's the most obviously hopeful.
Oh,
yeah. I love this character, thinking back to Christopher Reeve in the 1978 and then all his movies after that, 2, 3, and 4. Very, very entertaining films. I do like me some Henry Cavill Superman. I'm not a huge fan of the sort of dark direction they went with it. And I don't like how little Superman talks in Batman versus Superman. I think that kind of sucks too. I don't think he got enough there, but he's such a good character. And, Superman and Lois right now is my defining image of Superman as far as live action is concerned, just because I love the fatherly aspect of him. Having kids and his struggle with that has been one of the cooler stories they've done with Superman so far. I think it's cool to try to have him maintain a relationship with Lois Lane and keep it secret and stuff. Like that's what makes Superman for me. And his connection to John and Martha Kent and them having raised him and stuff. That's all these things that make him human, as not human as he is, are what make him such a great character. And his struggle with being Superman and raising children and maintaining a family. That's such a strong story element that they've been able to utilize with Tyler Hoechlin's Superman. But going back to like Smallville, that teenage drama where he was just Clark Kent trying to hide his powers in high school, growing up with John and Martha Kent raising him. Such a cool adaptation there. And the old Justice League cartoon, Superman the Animated Series, used to watch all that shit. But man, when I revisited 1978 Superman, I talked about like top three. This is probably right outside of that. Like it might be top 5 comic book movies just because of how fun it is.
He does feel like the first hero. Like he just feels like he is the classic superhero. Like
he's the first, he's the OG. And he certainly had the first comic book movie. I mean, if you're not going back to the 1966 Batman, the first modern, like, okay, this is what a superhero movie could be, that's what you're looking to is Christopher Reeve's Superman. And a score by John Williams. And does it slap? That's the greatest comic book movie score of all time. And like I already mentioned, my favorite scene in that movie with Lois Lane, because that's the best scene in the movie, is when they first meet and they flirt with each other. And she's like, you have X-ray vision, huh? What color underwear am I wearing? And he's like, I can't see through the lead pot. He can't see through a lead pot. And then they keep talking for a couple seconds, and she moves out from behind the plant. He goes, pink. And she's like, what? And he's like, color underwear you're wearing. It's pink. Like just like that. Like that's such a flirty, like, oh yeah, this is cute. And I just love them together in that. And Christopher Reeve's transformation as Superman, being able to go from the way he looked as Clark Kent into the way he looked as Superman, fucking incredible. I could just, and I've been reading a lot of Superman lately too, and that's been kind of what elevated him so high, is that there isn't a character I enjoy reading more. Maybe not on screen so much, but as far as comic books are concerned, I really love reading Superman books. Those are fucking fantastic. Right up there with X-Men and Batman.
But definitely a character I need to deep dive into. That's for sure.
Yeah. Number 3 had to be, and you said the top 3 earlier, the classic top 3. And
it feels
Superman,
right.
Like I have that top 3. They're my top 3. And Superman had to be 3. Couldn't elevate him any higher, but had to be there.
Well, if you guys couldn't have figured out who the top 2 were by this time, I don't know what to tell you, but it's just the order that they come in now is kind of the interesting thing. And I think we have them flip-flopped here. Maybe. I think.
Maybe. Who knows?
You just want to say our number 2 at the same time?
Sure.
3, 2, 1. Batman.
Spider-Man.
Yep, I figured.
Yeah.
It only makes sense.
It's only fair.
Oh yeah. But man, yeah, these are the 2 superheroes that I will never. They will always be my top 2. I don't think
they're the top 2. Batman and Spider-Man. There's no doubt.
I don't think a superhero can ever crack them. They're just iconic. Spider-Man is my entire childhood basically, and Batman was just as close as he can get to Spider-Man. I just happen to like Peter Parker more. The scrawny, nerdy kid, that turns into gets lucky, gets bitten by a radio or a spider and becomes this amazing superhero. Everything that comes with that, Tobey Maguire, and now into the modern the modern stuff. I mean, these characters are just getting better and better and better. And it's crazy that we can just repeat these stories over and over and they're still that good.
Hey, all you need's a little revamp, you know, all you need is something that changes. And I'm gonna be like, wow, that was a great change. I love this. Give me more. I'm a sucker like that. And, yeah, you know, so your 1, Spider-Man, my 2, Spider-Man, your 2, Batman, my 1, Batman. I can't imagine it any other way. I think this makes perfect sense how it ended up shaking out. And, you know, let's talk Spider-Man for a second. Let's take our pick. Your 1, my 2. You know, besides Superman, I'd say this is the other one that's just pure, like, yeah, that is a hopeful character. Peter Parker, Spider-Man, you know. He is, I mean, he's the defining piece of Marvel. Without Spider-Man, I don't think Marvel would be what it is, which is kind of crazy to consider. But there's just no superhero on the Marvel side of things that hits the way Spider-Man does. He's just such a good dude, you know. And the way Superman is, like, it's like if there's an equivalent there, I'd say that's like, yeah, it's Spider-Man. Spider-Man and Superman, I think, are the flip sides of each other in terms of the personality they bring to the scene. You know, this hopeful do-gooder who's here for the people. You know,
difference of Spider-Man is he's just a kid. Like that's
the
difference there. I think that's why I latched on to him more. You know, as just growing up as a child, you know, I see Batman and he's obviously badass and all, and it's amazing. He's my number 2 for a reason. But Spidey, he's, you know, he was just like one of us, you know, and just seeing what he becomes, you know, that mask is iconic. I have 2 Spider-Man suits myself. I've had numerous over the years. It's what I favored as Halloween the most.
I favored Batman. As a young, and I was rocking that bat suit for Halloween. You know, it was true. You know, it had, like, I loved Batman when I was younger, man. You know, like when it came to Spider-Man, I loved the Spider-Man movies, right? There was no doubt that I loved watching Green Goblin and I loved watching Doc Ock, but I stayed watching Batman the Animated Series and Returns and for Batman Forever and Batman and Robin and Batman 66. Like, dude, I loved that shit when I was little. I couldn't get enough. And then to have gotten an adaptation so recently as the Batman with Robert Pattinson, I already had it, Batman 1, Spider-Man 2. And then, like, I watched that and I was like, yeah, okay. Now I know for sure that's what I want. I was a little conflicted.
Man, talk about a group of villains. These two have villains on deck.
They have the rogues gallery, bro. As we said, you know, like the 2 highest villains I had, I mean, besides Magneto, I had Poison Ivy, I had Harley Quinn. These are Batman villains. I had Joker, I had Two-Face, I had Green Goblin, I had Doc Ock. Like, those are the highest ranking villains I had. You know, those are all Batman and Spider-Man.
It only makes sense.
Kingpin. Another Spider-Man villain. Like, they had to be there.
And the culmination of all of, you know, my childhood and No Way Home and being in that theater, that'll probably be the soul. You know, I don't know if another theater experience can top that. I mean, that was, No Way Home was something special. Seeing it for the first time. Yeah. Even knowing what was coming too. We kind of knew what was coming, but it still just blew our minds.
But there's this element of you know, you don't want to get your hopes up, so you're like, maybe it doesn't go. Maybe it's just a couple seconds and they're gone. No, they're a part of that movie, and it is satisfying, man. Seeing Andrew Garfield get his redemption, and, you know, saving MJ the way he couldn't save Gwen, and Toby coming back to help Tom, and ultimately saving Green Goblin when he couldn't the first time. You know, I think it's a pretty cool little parallel that, you know, he was killed by his glider in Spider-Man 1, and he stops Tom Holland from killing him with the glider in No Way Home. Like, I think that's like if I could have done it in that moment, I would have, but I couldn't. Like, I had to get out of the way. Like, I had to.
Hopefully he didn't wake back up and immediately just get stabbed, right? You know? Like, hopefully he didn't. Right? Yeah, that's what that O was. No. Obviously, no.
Headcanon now. He goes back, he goes, oh, and dies. You know, I can't rank the Spider-Men, you know, like I like them all for different reasons. You know, when it comes to Tom Holland, Tobey, and Andrew Garfield, like I really do love all of them. It is much easier for me to rank Batman because I don't love all of them.
Fair.
They're just all right for me in some aspects. So if you'll have me, I'd like to rattle off my Batman ranking.
Yes, please. I will have that.
if need be, I'll go over my Bruce Waynes as well because it's not the same list.
Ooh.
As far as Batman is concerned, my top one Batman is Robert Pattinson right now. Man bodied it. I don't know how. I didn't anticipate it. You know, I went in with a grain of salt. You know, I didn't think before that we'd had a defining Batman. You know, and I think now we do, as far as live action is concerned.
Oh, that's kind of a good point. That every other
it was
Batman
like up
before,
in the air. Like it was like, is it Michael Keaton? Maybe. Is it Christian Bale? Maybe. I don't think so. I think it is Robert Pattinson.
That's an important distinction as Batman, and yes. I think Bruce Wayne. You know, we still have a lot to see with him as Bruce. We didn't. I think that's the whole point of his character, though, is that he isn't Bruce Wayne. He is Batman. But that's. I mean, I'm right there with you.
2 years of nights have turned him into a nocturnal animal.
I mean, I don't know. This take on Batman, the first watch that I saw it, I'm like, holy shit. Like, I just watched that. Like, that just happened. Like, I did not, I don't know, maybe it was, I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's his eyes, maybe. Maybe it's just, his mannerisms are so Batman. The way he walks around a crime scene, very slow. And then you learn that he's just recording everything. And that's why he's looking, very detailed at stuff and points out the blood splat, on the ground for the person to take a picture. Like he notices things before everyone else does. Like, like they got the detective side of him down. They got the recluse, the dark, the emo side of him. Like every just aspect of Batman they got down. And
they just fucking nailed it, man. So that's Robert Pattinson had to be top one there. My two, this is where I go classic with it. I went ahead and went with Adam West here at my two, the 1966 Batman. Just because, without him, none of it happens. He sets the tone for the future of Batman. And obviously they revamped the character immensely in the future with Christian Bale, Michael Keaton, and Robert Pattinson's adaptations. But, there's still some homages to Adam West in some other movies, even in Robert Pattinson's Mask, the way the stitching goes over his nose and the eyebrows are like kind of emphasized on his mask. You can see it in certain light. Like that's a really, really cool little homage to Adam West's Batman. So I had him at 2. 3, Kevin Conroy, Batman animated series.
Okay.
That's a legendary Batman for me. Maybe the defining Batman for me. As far as what my childhood consisted of, it was all Kevin Conroy all the time.
Voice for the Arkham games too, man. That Mark Hamill and Kevin Conroy are the voices. Like they have the voices down. Oh,
dude, they're perfect. They're perfect. But yeah, then 4, that's where I'd go Christian Bale. 5 is when I go Michael Keaton. 6, I go George Clooney, and 7, I go Val Kilmer. And George Clooney and Val Kilmer, I think George Clooney was the most obviously reminiscent of Adam West. Like if you watch some 1966 Batman and then watch Batman and Robin, it's like, oh my God, George Clooney is trying to be Adam West. It's like pretty plainly obvious to me, but they do fantastic. I think they all have fun that they bring to the role. And if they don't have fun, they're bringing an intensity to it that we haven't seen otherwise. And
I'm curious on like 20 years down the line, like whenever we have like a new Batman eventually, the next take on it. Like if I think they're going to try to be Robert Pattinson, like that, I don't know, or maybe they'll go so different, maybe they'll be like, we can't replicate that, so like we're going to have to go a different direction or something.
We'll swing the other direction.
But man, yeah, I don't know. And this is his first movie. We're getting more, which is insane to think about, that we're just getting started. And I hope he becomes the Batman, just like if DC decides to have some continuity and stuff, like I hope he joins the Justice League and everyone else. Like I hope, I don't know. Like I really hope he's with everyone else and that he becomes like the Batman for all.
It'd be interesting if they open up this Batman Matt Reeves universe a little bit and they get other creators to come on and like someone has a Superman, someone has these other characters. It'd be really interesting. I'd be intrigued by that. But I think it'd be even cooler if we got our own little Batman live action universe here with
true.
Like with some of his apprentices, like getting Batgirl and Nightwing and shit like that under his belt. I think that'd be really cool.
I guess, yeah, there's enough in just Batman that they don't need to open it up.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, there's enough there.
I will say, favorite Bruce Wayne, Christian Bale. That's the best Bruce Wayne, I think. I think he nailed Bruce Wayne. Logically, I don't know that it makes a lot of sense for him to be like that, but from what we know Bruce Wayne to be like, I think he does it the best.
If I'm seeing Batman with a mask off, I'm kind of picturing, or if I'm picturing Bruce Wayne, I'm thinking of Christian Bale. Yeah. But if I'm thinking of Batman in suit,
I'm going Robert Pattinson. Yeah. Fills that out perfectly. And then, I just can't do that with the Spider-Man. They are all really embodying Peter Parker in a different way for me. They're all really embodying Spider-Man in a different way for me. I can only tell you that Andrew Garfield is kind of my favorite in just the way that he brings it. Like, it's like there's just such an obvious passion he has for the character that like absolutely bleeds through, that you pick up on a lot.
That trio, Robert, Andrew, and Charlie Cox, like that. They have the passion for those characters that they are. They are like they dove
they embody
deep.
Those characters, man.
Like you see Andrew, he goes out. He was out in New York, like actually doing Spider-Man things, outside of just
helping
filming
kids
and production. Yeah, like he truly felt the role and got into it. Whether it was just a different time when Toby was doing it and stuff. But he's the childhood Spider-Man that we all know and love. Andrew was the take that we're like, oh, this is very interesting. Like a different aspect of Spider-Man that we didn't know, or that we didn't know that we wanted. And then Tom, we have the modernization, of kind of all of it together. And then seeing literally all of them in the same movie is just something special. Like that'll never happen with Batman. We'll never see, well, I don't know.
And frankly, I don't think I want so much. Like
no.
Like I said with the Spider-Man, like, I didn't even have Ben Affleck in my ranking. Ben Affleck would probably slot in the Batman side of things, right below Christian Bale. I will say he looks perfect in the Batsuit. I absolutely love that. He was a good Bruce Wayne. I really enjoyed it. I always forget about the modern takes on these characters. Like when I did the Joker ranking, whenever I presented Joker, I left Jared Leto out. I forgot that he was a part of that. But nevertheless, I do really enjoy Ben Affleck. Ben Affleck's Batman. I think
underrated.
And with good reason though. I do understand people's complaints. This is the Batman who has broken pretty much the essential Batman rule.
True.
He doesn't seem to have much regard for that, which is interesting. But nevertheless, I do enjoy the take on Batman. I think it's really cool. And he'd probably slot in between Michael Keaton and Christian Bale. But yeah. So you want to rattle off our top 5 again, just for the,
Yeah.
These are the top 5. This is what you were here for. So give me your top 5, Joe.
Number 1, Spider-Man, Peter Parker. Number 2, Batman, Bruce Wayne. 3, Vision. 4, Wanda Maximoff. And 5, Ultron. For me.
Strong top 5, man. That makes me that's a real good top 5. Then my top 5, I got Batman, Bruce Wayne at 1. 2, I got Peter Parker, Spider-Man. 3, I got Clark Kent, Superman. 4, I've got Logan, Wolverine. And 5, I've got Matt Murdock, Daredevil.
Those top 4 are like, I mean, that's like the top 4 are just the classic like boom. Like that's what you think. Like those are the first superheroes that I think pop
those are the top 2
mind.
DC and top 2 Marvel I think of.
And then I love that Matt Murdock sliding in there. You like perfect.
I had to be 5, man. And Daredevil's just such a strong character. It's everything I love about Batman. I just discovered him later in life.
Yeah.
Like that's all.
Oh yeah, man, what a list. This was a lot of fun. This was a blast going through this, and now I like that I have a list that I can go back to and alter and change in the future whenever things change. I think, I don't know, this top 5 it'll be pretty set in stone, but I don't know, forever. Moving on, it'll be interesting to see where characters go in the future. But we had one lineup and one only. And that was Jean Grey, the Phoenix, at 30. So
Jean Grey at 30. Man, yeah. I thought we might have some more in the top 10. It is pretty cool that we ended up with 6 of the same characters in our top 10 in Black Panther, Wanda, Vision, Batman, Spider-Man, and Wolverine. Did you have Wolverine in your top 10?
Yep, he was my 9.
Okay, yeah. So those 6 characters were both in our top 10, which kind of makes them a shoo-in for being amongst the best characters in Marvel, I'd say. And and Batman. Best characters in Marvel and Batman. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And the 4 where we differentiated, I had Superman, Matt Murdock, Captain Marvel, and Magneto, which I thought was interesting.
And then I had, I think, Iron Man, Joker, Ultron, and Doctor Strange, maybe.
Yes,
was Doctor Strange in your top 10 or no?
No, he was down towards 21, I think.
Joker, Iron Man, Doctor Strange, and Ultron were mine.
Interesting shit. Just interesting seeing the differences and how things shake out. But
Vision 3, I didn't know if you expected that, but
I did not.
He's my favorite.
I didn't expect Wanda 4. I didn't expect that you'd have Wanda and Vision higher than I did.
Vision's my guy. He's my number 1 in Marvel.
Vision that makes every bit as much sense. But like 3, I didn't know about that. I thought top 5, but 3, I was like, damn, I'm happy to hear that.
Love me some Vision.
Love that. But yeah, with that concludes our top 100 comic book characters. And, I can't imagine we find another thing to do a top 100 about. If we do, it'll be movies down the line. That'll be a while away before we get there. But, and I'd expect something of a top something with movies sooner. Probably not 100 is probably the safest bet there.
It's a lot of movies.
It's a lot of movies, but there are a lot of movies I like, so who knows? But yeah, with that, we conclude this episode of the Penny Bloom podcast. It was I, Colton Robertson, and I was joined by Joseph George. Thank you very much, homie.
Oh, thank you for having me. It is always a pleasure.
And it's always a pleasure to have you. If you would, head to patreon.com/CoroBloom. where you find over 24 hours of exclusive content. And just a couple weeks back, we actually dove into that deleted scene released from Matt Reeves' The Batman, where it features Bruce Wayne and the Joker going back and forth there. Very excited for you to hear that. Go ahead and check that out. All that money goes back into making sure I can put the podcast on. Don't make any money unless it's there. And it's helpful. It is helpful. If you would, head to Twitter, follow at PennyBloomPod, follow on Instagram at PennyBloomPodcast. And remember, peace, love, and bloom. And always praise Batman and Spider-Man.